talk to the room.
Hey, listen, welcome Alex Amiruddin and Evan Bacon to episode 24.
Good to see you again. I lean in a little. I don't want to put my mouth on it. I'm sorry. So our friend John North.
G.G. Allen used that mic before you, by the way.
Who do you use it on?
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Himself.
So he sent us like all this old stuff.
Me too.
Johnny.
You
North.
got it.
Yeah, I got it.
So I listened to it like yesterday and today. So then I thought you'd put it on, and I'd like point out like, did you hear what I did there? Like, isn't that nice?
Evan
Look at
wanted
that! I
to
switched
showcase
hands
those
on that
awesome
one.
fills and
Yeah.
all about it.
no,
because some of it's terrible and like some of it's real good to us.
We were like,
and
young
the tempos are
funny.
weird, but there was one that I'm like pretty solid on for the most part, and I'm like, that's good. That's a good fill. Like, oh, nice. Did you hear
We
that?
had a listening session with all of our stuff from when we started in high school.
Right.
Yeah.
From when
how
just
far
would
back
sing,
do you want to go?
I would just sing words to his beats,
Yeah.
and then I eventually bought a bass, and then
You guys
the progression.
have plenty of time to suck each other's dicks about the songs that you wrote. So
They're pretty
it's
fucking
I was
good,
sucking
man.
my own dick.
Yeah.
Is the point.
Totally.
Evan wants
But-
he wants praise for his fills, his technique, his
Can a man live in post-production? Jeez, man.
But I thought we
We're
would
gonna
play
make this hell for Sam to
I feel like
cut
they
with
down.
came,
song-
I feel like they came in here with a real agenda.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I have
You
notes.
guys been doing this show all wrong,
I have
and here's
notes.
how it's.
Are you
gonna be
guys
done.
really promoting the gonads right now?
That's right, man. Long live the
This
gonads.
is post
Right?
go now.
That was one of our
We
slogans,
got you a
Long Live
drum
the
set
Gonads.
here, so if you want to do anything live,
I'll do it later. But like the song had no words, so I
Yeah.
figured it would be a good song to play, and then I would talk over it and say, good.
Dude, this
that's
is
a
gonna
good
be like
fill.
a 4 hour. Sorry, Brian. 4 hour fucking.
He's gonna
interview.
edit it in post. He said.
Yeah,
I
that's
know,
all-
but Brian's gotta go to bed.
I was supposed to be in bed like 2 hours ago, but whatever.
not really, because the show would have been going till 11.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're
I told
making
you-
memories.
I told you you
We're
could wear
making
your
memories.
PJs,
Yeah.
man.
I'm in 'em.
Make it easy.
I'm in them.
I'm jealous.
No.
I've never
Very
seen a guy
comfortable.
so quick to go to bed.
No.
Life happens.
How old are you?
40.
Yeah, that's a good
No.
time to go to
No.
bed. At
Yeah.
like 9.
I'm out of here.
It's fine.
My wife went up at 7:30, so.
Evan's with you.
It's totally
Evan's with
fine.
you.
Dude, food shopping Friday. Later, dude. We're out of here.
Did you do it tonight, or
No,
we cut
no.
into it?
You canceled.
So we
Food Shop
ruined your
Friday?
evening.
She went solo.
Sorry.
This
Oh,
for
wow.
you guys.
She went solo.
Wow, I'm
appreciate
so
that.
honored. Those are some of my favorite posts.
I was watching,
Food Shop Friday
you know,
posts.
I was watching a movie that is going to be in my top 5, soundtrack wise.
What was it?
Just to get. I'm not going to
Oh,
spoil
okay.
it. Yeah.
I thought you meant in top.
got a
no,
bit
no, no,
for that,
but, yeah.
How dare you
For
disrespect
tonight.
the process?
Yeah. So.
You gotta let people.
So by the way-
Yeah.
state of the end.
Wow. What's up? This
I
guy's
listened
messing
to your
with his own
first show. Here's the thing.
We didn't know what the fuck we were doing till the 9th. What are you doing?
Hold on.
It's like golf. The
I
ninth hole.
have a very small data plan on my phone. I try not to spend a lot of money. I use the Wi-Fi at home,
Dude.
but I sit on
Dave,
the train.
Dave Cassell's calling you
SMH.
right now.
No, I showed it to him one time.
I'm talking about. I'm like, listen to the show. Even way before we were gonna do it,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, it's
No,
so
so-
fucking awesome. You'll totally be into it.
So I listened to it.
It's like our youth.
But if I listen to it on one day on a train, then for the next 28 days or whatever, I can't go on any websites, or I sit on the train and I'm
Dude.
bored. So I had to parse it out. So I listened to the first one and the Joe Rubino one. And
You
I'm ready
Damn.
now.
Well, here's the
It's
deal.
how you caught me on a new cycle, so I have data and then I used it.
Well, here's the deal. You
So I'll
could
be bored next week. It's Thanksgiving.
you
so.
could download it when you're home into your phone. That
Yeah.
way, when you listen to it, you don't use any data because it's saved to your phone.
Ah.
You show me how to do that and I can write down the instructions, I'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but anyway,
We're definitely showing our age here.
definitely.
I can barely function like on a digital
Check
medium.
check the group page. We'll post the instructions. Maybe
So-
it'll help someone
Alex
else.
sent me a
The
link.
geriatric
It's fine.
guide. Too.
Real
Right.
quick, thanks to everyone who listens because it's odd when people tell me that they listen. I like it. It's cool. It's basically, like I said, just inviting you into our conversation. And
Does Anthony listen?
Anthony who? There's a lot of Anthony's
The one with
on
the
Long
big
Island.
watch. The guy that always
Yeah.
the big watch.
The watch, yes.
He listens?
He's the Anthony, yes.
He's the Anthony.
He's
He was a
Big
guest.
fan.
He was on.
He was?
He was
Damn
on.
it.
Yeah.
Is that last episode?
the last episode.
Gotta get that
Yeah,
data
I
plan
gotta
going. Get it
gotta
going.
do it.
The
All
last episode we did
I'm dating myself.
was a Halloween episode. That was the last one we recorded last month, and he was on it.
Yes.
So we
He
talked.
went as a watch.
He did. He did. So
He said, good costume. He was like, no, I'm just wearing a watch. It's not. It's just gigantic.
So anyway, I
Good
wanted
guess. Good guess.
I
BTW.
wanted to get you guys in to basically talk about the history because I feel like when you talk about the big four that aren't thrash, when you talk about like Long Island Big Four,
You mean Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer.
Megadeth, and Slayer.
I was going to say Halloween, but okay.
Yeah, we were just talking about Halloween.
All right, well, keep
Loving
her
it.
keep
Keep
her
it the 7 Keys part 2. Shout out.
Yes.
Shout out to that. But when you talk about like Long Island, the punk scene, I think you have Glassjaw, you have Taking Back Sunday, you have Brand New, and you have the Movielife. So
That's your big four?
I think
Nice. It's an honor to be a part of your big four.
To be honest with you,
I've heard Sam has a big four.
I did too. It's pretty damn big.
To be honest with you,
I've seen it.
I don't really listen to any of those bands.
Right.
But you know, since we became friends, it's something that I went back to. Here's my history with the Movielife. I listened.
Not a fan.
It's all good. Still love you.
I was basically, you know, I was a Pavement fan. Like I didn't even like.
You know what the
hardcore.
funny thing is? We were all indie rock. Like we were in an indie rock band before, and even simultaneous to starting the Movielife, and we were like way into that. But there were like some local hardcore bands that we really loved. I mean, Silent Majority, VOD.
Oh, absolutely. Those
But
are
like
the
we
two.
were like Arches of Loaf, Pavement,
Right.
Yes.
So
all that stuff.
So
It's
when
all
every
this-
other hardcore band says, you
Polvo,
know,
shout
we
to
listen
Polvo,
to
awesome band.
whatever, Texas is the Reason or Civ or Earth Crisis or whatever, we were listening to the Pixies or the Lemonheads
A lot
and
of that
Fugazi
stuff,
whatever.
yeah.
And so, I don't know, we just...
And just like, but
sorry.
no, I'm saying, you know, like growing
talk
up,
over
it's-
each other the
we
whole
we had we do
Case in
that
point.
because you know that's just. We listened to a lot of diverse music. Like when I was like young, I listened to Ramones, Jane's Addiction, all that. You know, punk rock like 7 Seconds, Fugazi. But I never like kind of put it in a like a scene or thought of it in any way like that. So
No, it was just whatever you were getting.
yeah, and then
right.
when I
To
got older, then I started realizing, oh, these scenes, like what scenes are. I never really knew what it was. I was listening.
We
to
just
Fugazi
found
and
shit that we
Minor Threat
liked.
for so long. Yeah.
Because how did you find it? You would go to Tower Records or Slip
Local, the
Disc
music,
or whatever.
the local music store. in
Find
Boulder.
something
I
that
bought
looks
so many
good.
Cool cassettes
We
from
would
it.
talk about
Yeah.
it, or we would hear something. But then when we got into the scene, you know, and Eddie introduced us, he gave us the manual. He said, you must listen to this.
Yeah,
And we were like,
did
these bands are
expose us to a lot
terrible.
of- yeah,
They're all
we were
bad.
constantly like, I think Ed hates Evan to this
I was
day
like,
because of that.
Mineral, come on, this is so boring.
talking about Eddie Reyes.
So we
from
did.
Taking
We
Back
just
Sunday.
yeah. So we just you know it was more like I started playing when we were playing in the Sand Pebbles. We had our indie rock thing, and when you know we were friends with Eddie and he wanted to start a band. Clockwise had broken up. I played some chords. I knew like you know some stuff. I never really played guitar before.
You were playing bass, right?
I was playing bass in the Sand Pebbles, and prior to that, in every band
What did
I'd
the
been
Sand Pebbles sound like? Because I have no idea.
in.
Well, that's because we didn't play
I
any
don't
of
know.
it
Every-
before the show.
There was like a CD of it, like
Prep.
I thought that you heard a bunch of you know
no,
it was out there. But
no.
The Sand Pebbles were like, to sound cliche, it was like the Beatles meets Fugazi, right? It was like a lot of Fugazi influence, but then we would occasionally maybe smoke a doob or something and try to, you know, we had a 7-minute song, we had a 9-minute
we
song.
jammed
we
a
would,
lot. It was
we
a
would-
lot of noise.
let's see where this
but at the
takes
same
us,
time,
you know, whatever.
Dave Olger, shout out, awesome, very talented guy that we played in with like a lot of our bands growing up.
Yeah, Johnny sent me all that stuff via
John North.
Dropbox. Johnny North.
Johnny
Yeah.
North.
Let me just say the first thank you on the Red demo, right? Isn't he the first thank you?
Could
We have
be,
a thank
yeah.
you on there?
Well, he said.
I think he wrote his own name in
I
it.
know
Look,
that
they thanked me.
I know there's a tape that says contact Evan Baken and had your old phone number.
Yeah.
on
He's-
the
only other
second demo, the
person-
white demo.
$200 on eBay for that white demo.
Did you see
Really?
that?
Hell
Yeah.
Vinny's selling it, apparently. some guys sell their Super Bowl rings. You know, there's
Rich Jacobina says he's got 8 of them at his
Yeah.
house. So
I believe him.
Yeah, the
I
guy
believe him.
fucking- That was during the
So,
But the point of I think where
Shout
we're
out
going
to the
is
Jacovinas, all
we
of them.
we
Oh, I
played
had
we
a- I had a
played
point,
we
but we'll
played
go.
in the hardcore scene, let's say it, and like we'll pigeonhole it a little. But you know, we always thought, I think, that the hook was that we have other music we're bringing to the table. So we're not completely different than all these other bands. We're not doing off the wall shit, but like we're doing this cool other stuff. We're mixing it in. You're
It was
mixing
fun.
in a
It
little
was
Polvo.
exciting.
You're mixing in a little.
I thought of it
you
like
know,
as like a
whatever.
noisy clockwise because I never really played guitar that much and I didn't know. And Eddie taught me like drop D, so I was like almost like I'm doing this like noisy version of like a clockwise type thing, you know. And I, you know, I mean the demo stuff. The first 2 demos, I love them. I mean the first one's kind of very Silent Majority influence, and the second one was more like what I was kind of into. It was a
we
lot
tuned
more
up to
it
E
was a
for the
little
second
noise.
one. We made it.
Yeah, the second demo I think was
Graduated.
back to E,
well, here's the
but
deal.
that was more up my alley.
So going back to that, like when I, you know, I was away for so long.
By the way, he still hasn't answered when he heard us or why he liked us, which
no,
means
Also, I totally
which means
I ruined that.
Yeah.
I ruined
You're
that.
going there.
I think
He's going there.
I was
You got to trust. He's gonna
He,
get right
he's
back to
he's
it.
steering the ship like he claimed.
I was making it there.
Mm.
So, I went away. I had like a drug problem, not a gambling problem, but a drug problem, and so I came back around 2000. But I missed all that. So by 2001, 2002, I started to kind of
we
explore.
were huge by then. We outgrew you. I'm sorry.
I was exploring. I was exploring
you?
the scene, and then by the time I stumbled upon the Movielife, it was on your last record. That was the first thing I heard, and then it was just kind
I
of.
wasn't in the
what was
band
the
at that
thought
time.
at that point?
For me personally, it just wasn't for me.
You're like, where are the drugs?
It wasn't.
Get me back.
It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But as I became friends with Alex later on in life, I listened to the earlier stuff. Like when I first heard Valens, I was like, "Holy shit!"
Which I never played for him. He just heard it on his own.
I was
somehow,
like, "This is like really
Yeah.
good."
Well,
This is
there's
the
a
same
reason.
band?
There's a reason why
That's
you're
the
saying
kind
that, and the reason is because basically 90% of the music was written by Alex up until the last record, and you had basically a different. I don't say basically 6 times, but you had a different. You had a different band. You know, it had the same name. It had Vinny. Obviously, this great drumming, but
Nice.
it. But even the drumming wasn't that good.
Let's get those fills going again in
Yeah,
here.
you know what it was?
The
Because
backbone of the
McTurnan,
group was there.
it was Brian McTurnan, who was our producer.
Great guy right there.
You think so?
Production-wise, yeah.
All right. So we'll keep it.
a
I'll keep it
lot of
moving
people agree
forward.
with you, Brian.
Thumbs
by
up
the
for
way.
salad days.
He wanted all the drums
Caven
to
record,
get
phenomenal.
Oh, yes.
He wanted all the drums to get basic, and again, part of our thing was like we always tried to get slightly left of center or whatever. Play some funky chords, do a breakdown, or do a weird part. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But I always fancied myself. I'll do a little this or do a little that. And he would just always yell at me, "No dinging, no dinging." You know, play like Dave Grohl, like just hit hard. And so on that record, everything went into Pro Tools
Rock
and
Solid
everything
style.
got cut and edited, and it was like get rid of all the shit that I think sounds like me, and now I sound like someone else, and the songs don't sound like, you know, that other Movielife because it just didn't have Alex. So
Yeah, because arguably it was like 2, and like I said, and later in
well, there was like 6 Movielifes, but there was like 2 that are
we're
the more well-known
Two legit-
Movielifes.
we're gonna get to those, but so how the hell did you two meet?
Elementary school, right?
Elementary.
So
Yes, actually,
Second
Evan,
grade.
I
You
lived.
don't have to tell every story. There's a bit. I sound like a dick.
Oh yeah, he's gonna say like because Evan was mean to me. When we met. I'd moved from. We lived in Brooklyn. We moved to Long Island, like when I was like basically like the middle of like
He's going
kindergarten
way
or
back.
something. So we just I didn't really know Evan, even though he lived around the block from me. Blah blah blah. I think it was first grade or second grade.
Second grade.
Second grade. We were in a different first grade, and like I remember he had a party and he had a birthday party and he invited like kids. And I was like, oh, I wasn't even like trying to get myself in the party. I remember thinking
It was
he's
early.
Like, oh,
in,
so
it was
where's the
early
party?
in the
Just being
semester.
friendly. And he goes, I just
You're
asked. I'm
telling
like,
the-
and he's like, you're not invited.
He went out of his
like,
way
what
to
a
tell you
dick.
that.
Yeah, I made a point.
Wow.
Okay.
He said, you're
to
not invited. And then he
but it
tried-
was
and he
September.
tried-
My birthday's in September.
In third
so
grade,
we
he tried to
just
sue me for breaking his GoBot.
we just
He's got brothers. My
Okay.
brother's a lawyer.
listen. We had just met each other.
I love you. I love you.
He told the story anyway.
Yeah.
So we had just. It was early in the year. I barely knew him. I'm sure by the end of second grade we were high fiving and wrestling at the Nassau Coliseum.
Yeah, we became
You
really
know,
good friends.
it's fine.
All right. So and like what year
There
was
you
that?
have it.
How long ago? That was
2,
Oh my God.
It's
What
year
year was
2.
that? We're so old.
It's like forever ago.
1981 or something.
So through the years, you guys are growing up and stuff, and like, what's the music that you guys start listening to at a very early age? You guys like
You wanna
kicking
go
around
first,
like
Baken?
Yes.
Rat?
Yeah,
Was-
we listened to the beginning
I'll
stuff.
tell you,
you-
I have
Halloween.
It
no
was
idea.
fucking Headbangers Ball.
Halloween,
you know?
like
man,
real
Halloween.
Early on, like
Yeah.
Well-
early on stuff for me.
Because you have 2 older brothers.
I do. Oh, no, I have one older brother.
I have 2
Yeah.
older brothers.
You have 2, so you guys had that I didn't have. Like I was the oldest one, so like, and my parents listening. Like,
Yeah,
they
you
listen to
said, yeah.
shitty music.
Yeah, I love when you every few episodes you bring that up.
it's
great. I
it's
love it.
true because it's just like I never like I had to like find shit out on the field and bring it back to my brother and sister and be like, look what I found, you know? Like my sister listened, my brother did not. So it's cool when you have that older brother or, you know, two older brothers, so they hand you down those fucking Halloween records. And you're just like,
yeah, I mean,
fuck.
definitely. I mean, my older brother was more of an influence like when I got a little older, like the hard rock stuff. Like he was like into Guns N' Roses.
He liked Tesla.
Before, whatever. But
Tesla's
just-
first
dude,
album is good, man.
I just fucking
I'm
listened to them
sorry.
yesterday on the
Tesla.
treadmill.
He brought me to the actual.
That first record's
I like
awesome.
the first two records.
He brought me to that acoustic show that got really
Oh,
big, and
really?
it was
The
originally
5-man
recorded
acoustical
at the Ritz.
jam?
Like one of his friends
Yes.
canceled.
There
I went with
was,
him and his
right?
friends, and I was like up. I was like really close to the front of the stage. I was getting like pushed into this like hot chick in like fucking spandex.
Was that hot
and I was
chick's
like
name
young, and I was
Jeff
like,
Keith?
"This is so awesome!" And I was like, you know, I was just loving it. He brought me to like Rat, all these crazy shows.
I thought he was gonna say I was face to face with Jeff Keith.
Yeah,
like,
me-
like
no,
he came
no,
up
I was
that
like,
close.
wow. I'm like, you know, I was a kid, and I was.
We
like,
sang
these
Little
grown, like,
Susie
women
into
with,
each
like,
other's
leather and
eyes.
Spandex. I was like, this is awesome.
That was a very cool thing for them to do.
The girls are very attractive.
Oh,
Yes.
And we were
Oh, yeah.
young,
Yes.
and it was insane.
Those same girls were actually at the Iron Maiden tribute show that I went to at 89 North like 2 weeks ago.
The
Yeah.
same exact ones.
Well, they don't look the same, but it was the same exact.
Same ones. Yeah.
But my first actual show was Van Halen with my brother and his friends. So
For
really
what?
cool.
Which I think you invited me
Hagar?
to, because I think
Van
you had.
I
Hagar,
think it
ticket.
was
right?
OUA.
It was
1
OUA
too.
1 2.
That
But
doesn't
I
Yeah.
count.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I mean, come on. I was like, you know, what am I going
We
to do?
couldn't
I
help
love
it.
Van
I'm kidding,
Halen.
I'm
I loved
kidding.
the Roth there in elementary school.
The first concert I went to,
I
Alex
Yeah.
came with
But-
me, was Poison, open up and say at the Coliseum.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
But then my older brother took us to the Headbangers Ball tour.
That was pretty.
It
that
was.
junior
Did you
high.
go with us?
Junior
Because
high.
the twist was he took us. We had to go to the Allman Brothers.
Yeah.
That was the.
That's-
that was
oh.
the. That was
Yeah.
his.
That's
I never
horrible.
saw a
Our
crowd
treat was
erupt.
to take
Whipping
us to
post,
that.
that bass intro, or whatever.
They're
like
so
the,
good.
And Meatloaf
crowd
opened,
went-
so it was
but when we
Meatloaf.
were that age, I thought
Allman
it was
Brothers.
just
It's so cool you
jammy
had
and-
brothers
Hey, and
like
it smelled
that.
like
Yeah.
weed when we were there. It was crazy.
I was like, oh my god.
My brother
My
didn't
brother's
want
old
to do
as shit.
shit from. He didn't take me nowhere. Like the best thing that happened that my brother did. He had a friend at a radio station, gave him a ton of records, and when he decided to just get into REO Speedwagon and Styx and shit,
Nice.
I had
Owner of
all of a
Lonely Hearts.
sudden a
Cool.
shitload of Ozzy, Iron Maiden.
oh, he just gave up his shit.
He's like, oh, just he did not.
Nice.
He was all about
So
that.
he did do something
that
for you without
easy
realizing.
listening rock
Accidental.
right then.
Accidental
Yeah.
presence.
REO,
Serendipity.
yes, not like hippie, yes, like the owner of a lonely heart, yes,
Yeah.
that whole shit. REO Speedwagon and shit and Styx.
No,
Forget
but
about it. So,
my-
but he gave me all his metal records.
That's awesome.
So he didn't want anything to do with me.
Can I ask you a
But he
question?
did give me a lot of
Hey,
records.
whatever.
Can you
What
can you
get?
can you edit out the part where Alex says was bad in elementary school? Let's just go.
It's
fast forward
already
to
on your permanent
Fast forward to
record, man.
6th grade, slippery when wet, never say goodbye. You know,
But
we're
early on, when I
high
was young,
fiving
I was
every
really
day.
into
It's
music.
great.
You're a power ballad guy.
Yeah, you
What's
know.
your number one ballad? We had
Still,
we had
still when I
top
go in the
5.
car with Evan, he's got that whole genre, right? You usually listen to like the 80s like hard rock kind of channel.
I get that.
It's all
Satellite.
nice.
But what's the
I got rid of
go-to
my
power
satellite.
ballad? What's the one?
I don't know.
Never say goodbye.
Home Sweet Home
Say
or
goodbye.
That's what I
Classic.
said. Home Sweet Home.
That's
I
legend.
actually
That's
named.
the best
I know my number one was Blood and Tears by Danzig, but you
Fucking
know.
Heartbreak
Yeah, but that's
Station,
like
man.
a
Cinderella.
More to me, more contemporary, even though it's not.
You know what's funny? I watched the Cinderella video because my buddy told me about it. Because he's getting into what's the website where you can go? You can get tabs and they'll give you a metronome. He wants to play bass again, so he's playing Last Mile or so Gypsy Road.
Great
And
song.
he sends me the video, and it's like these bozos walking around in
Love
their
it.
tight pants. They're like in Mexican
Yep.
ruins, like
Yep.
in Aztec ruins with their fucking tight pants. And Fred Curry's like smacking them
Yep.
with his drumsticks. It's like totally disrespectful. They look like buffoons. But I think at the time we were like,
Disrespecting
guys
the
are so
culture.
fucking
Oh,
cool.
so good.
We
cool.
we went
That's
to
a good
Cinderella.
song, actually. I gotta say.
We went to
Nice.
Cinderella, Winger Bullet Boys. It was,
Bullet
Bullet
Boys.
it was
Boys.
phenomenal.
Money, money, money.
So-
Mark Terrain, one of the most underrated singers ever.
Mark.
Yeah.
But is
You know, there comes a point where we get older. We're allowed to buy our own shit. We start exploring and finding music.
yeah, absolutely.
Ninja, right?
Ninja. The
Ninja. Rock and roll madness.
Dude, there was this hairstylist that my mom used to go to, and next door to it was this record store, this like tape and record store, and they had this display for this band called Ninja. And they
This
were
was
like they were like
Baldwin,
in front of like
Grand
a
Avenue.
limo, and they had all display. I bought the cassette, and it was like hard rock band.
It was
I like,
awesome.
Yeah.
It
I'm
was-
like,
it was-
I
it was
know
like Too Fast for Love.
You know the fucking person at the record store knows the guy Ninja, and they went to the show in a limo, and I was like, this is so lame. Oh my god, these guys thought they were like
The album
shit.
was called Sealed with a Kiss.
We thought they were cool. Like,
Rock
it's,
and
like,
Roll
terrible.
Madness,
So
I guess,
embarrassing.
would be the single. If you could, the single meaning the song that we played more than
that
the
we
others.
thought they were like famous. And
So
rich
there's
and
no.
they were
Maybe
really
ask
just
the
like-
audience, like throw it out to Anthony and the 4 other people if they've heard of Ninja Sealed with a Kiss.
I don't know if anybody they
It's
win
not
the
on-
prize.
it's
They win the
barely on-
prize. They win the $200 Movie Life demo.
Nice.
From Rich Jack, they would win 8
Yeah, from
tapes,
Rich.
8 out of
I
11.
probably gave Rich
from
like
Rich.
10 of those, or like 5 of those 8 that he has.
He definitely took them from you. So
Shout out to Rich, love you, dude.
definitely. I would love to get him on.
Yeah, but like seriously, I listened to music. Like I was into like Thomas Dolby, She Blinded Me with Science. I was into Men at Work. I was into Duran Duran hardcore, all that stuff before my brother really was an influence. So, but then I got
One
into
day-
hard rock and all that.
one
Even I
day-
had the Rick James record, Super
Super Freak.
All right,
I
now
had
you,
all
now
that
you
shit.
just
Who
showing
was the
off.
other band?
I did. I had good taste when
But
I
who
was a
else?
kid. I'm very
who,
proud of
who
it.
did
did.
Super Freak? You had that record too.
Rick James.
No, who?
Oh, there was some band that did like a
Dave
he
Casale
had the
call
slap
him.
bass,
Casal. I love that guy.
right? It was good.
Shout out to Mariko and Dave and Holly. Yeah, there was like a band, one of those like metal. I
You
don't know if
guys
they were a
know.
metal rap band. They did Super Freak. They did like the slap though.
Because Alex was playing bass at the time, so you hear a little slap thrown in
one
a
of
little
those
metal.
headbangers ball bands that never like was humongous, but
And
they
they
were known.
covered Super
Yeah,
Freak.
Yeah, almost like Warrior Soul, like a
Was
band
it,
of
was
that
it
status.
Little Caesar.
you need to have
The Wiretap play.
you need to
Crash
have
Shout
like
out
a
to
like a
Warrior
guy
Soul.
like at a sports show who's doing the stats. Like, look
Look
that
that
up.
shit up.
Casal, do it. What do you got?
He actually just called, so maybe we
Yeah.
can get him.
Oh, I
to
thought he
come.
was calling for like a.
Get
you know,
him-
he's
get
doing
him to
like a
Google
interview
this shit.
question or something.
Oh, he has no idea what.
Oh, I love
So
that dude.
so you had that one, but then one day you came home with Black and White. You know Black and White?
Yeah.
The cookie? Yeah.
No. The
The
rap,
Seinfeld episode, that was
the
a good
rap and rock mix. Vince Neil. Who
Yeah.
else?
Wow.
I don't
Seen
know
you
who
at
else.
Rainbow Bar and Grill.
Rainbow Bar and Grill.
It was like a mix of
I never
celebrity
heard of this
hard
shit.
rock.
Where the
dudes.
fuck were you guys shopping?
Dude,
I never heard of any of
Schwarzkopf.
this shit.
We're shouting at Schwarzkopf.
this was like I seen you last night at the Rainbow Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
It was like that, but it was like
That'll
Wait,
be on
It was a
YouTube.
rock
it
and
was
rap
fucking
thing with
Neil,
Vince Neil.
but they
This
couldn't
was-
use their names because they were like
It was
signed.
called
It was
and
like
Black
sometimes-
and White
called
was
Black
the
and White.
clever
Look it up.
name they
And
came
this was
up
the
with
cover.
for that
This was the
shit.
cover. The two hands, the
Probably was-
crossed.
I probably thought it was
the
brilliant.
crossed
when I was a kid.
hands.
Oh, that's amazing. So
Yeah,
so.
Black
But
and
the
White.
point is, we would find. This is when you would just find stuff. Like you would go,
You found
you would
shit.
read a tidbit, you would go to a store, you would see something,
You
right?
found shit, all right.
This is what we found.
Dude, we used to find.
And this
that's
is
all we
pre Eddie
did. We
Reyes,
cared- all we
right?
we were obsessed with
BCE.
music. Yeah.
Yeah, you just find shit. We found.
I know what the fuck I'm looking for when I get home on the internet tonight.
Yeah,
is
dude,
the Black
Rainbow
and White.
Bar
Black and
and
White.
Grill
Yeah.
is like the name of the song. I think.
I just
all
read
the-
that motherfucker's 300-page biography, and he
Dude,
didn't mention
probably,
Black
'cause
and
he probably
White
gets sued by his
whatsoever.
record label. It was definitely him, and it was
Look
like
for
some
Ninja,
secret
too.
Black
label.
and White didn't get an appendix.
It didn't get in there.
Well, we could actually buy the Movie Life demo, resell it for $400, and
Okay.
Then you'll have the money to buy Black and
Yeah.
White.
But you still can't get
Brilliant.
fucking Gene Simmons on the show,
Gotta
though, for
flip
that
it.
price, you know?
No. That's funny too. Did
you
you
guys
hear
got
about
banned
that?
from Fox News.
I
They
saw
went to
that.
get 'em.
Did you
So-
try to get Gene Simmons?
No, Gene Simmons
Several times.
is selling a box
Dude, Gene
set.
Simmons was made for Fox News. That's
Gene,
fucking...
Gene Simmons is selling a box set of 50 years of his songs for $2,000,
Not worth it.
and it's in a road case. And when you buy
Is there
it,
one of them?
no, I think he made a few thousand. And when you order it, he hand delivers it to you. So if we all chipped in,
Oh my god, what a prick!
I think Brandon was doing
Does he,
that
like,
when he was
come-
when he was raising money, his GoFundMe or whatever it was. He was like, "I'll deliver you a pizza if you like.
oh,
Give me $20 to write a technical
Why don't we
song."
start a GoFundMe? for the
can't wait
thing?
for those guys to email
So
me.
you know
Uh-oh.
what? They're thinking big. Those
Yeah.
guys.
Will Gene Simmons like go in your house and hang out, or he's just going to deliver it? and
He's
be
just
like,
going
"All
to
right,
deliver
see
it.
ya."
But here's the thing: there's another thing that you could do for $50,000. You could hang out
You
with
could
him.
pay Gene
You could
Simmons
fuck
not
him.
to come.
Dude, I would pay to like punch him in the face.
But
That's what I would pay to
imagine,
do.
but still, I think in a way, I almost get
just
it
say no to violence
because
by the
it's
way.
so because it's so crazy that he probably was like, yeah, you know what? He told whoever it is for 50 grand, throw it up online, see who pays for it.
You don't give a fuck.
And he said you could invite up to 25
Kiss
of your
is
friends.
like would sell.
I tell
anything.
you what, though, I want a documentary made about the guy that does it.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's
That
gonna
guy-
do it.
That's
Somebody
the guy
will do
that
it.
fascinates me, not Gene Simmons, but
Because-
the guy that's going to throw all that money down.
Because
just 'cause
to
they gotta
some
have
guy,
him come
yeah,
to that.
Because to someone, $50,000 is like $100 to us.
Right.
Yeah, some
know.
people.
And that guy
is.
likes
To
Kiss.
Gene Simmons.
Well, that's the whole thing.
And some,
like-
but there's also like those
Guys like
fanatics
that
that, would
don't
like
look
take
like
out a
Kiss,
loan just
yeah.
to buy that because they're just lunatics and
It's
they're obsessed
insane.
with like the bands they love.
like it's unbelievable.
If you
like-
had that money, I guess I'll throw it out to all of you. Would you pay to have him come or Jonah Falcon?
Oh my God, Jonah Falcon. I think I'm the only one.
I'm drawing a blank. Who the fuck?
So all of the musical, whatever experiences, all the things we got into together. Isn't that nice?
I know. I remember
He
when I
would
got
share
the
things, we
Misfits.
would
I
share
would bring them,
things.
and we like. I went to your upstate with you, and we played the Misfits. Walk Among. No,
First
Legacy
was
Brutality.
first was Legacy, yeah.
And we just played that like all weekend. It was so new.
And then we found out that Danzig was the singer because we used to
And
die
we-
laughing at the Mother video of like, who's this buffoon? Remember that
but
with,
you know
with
what?
his
But
I
love
fucking
Danzig.
mutton
I
chops?
love
That was
and,
your first scene,
and we were like,
Danzig?
dude, we're like, wait, that's the same guy.
I
Like,
love the first. I
Yeah.
loved the first. I loved the videos. I loved everything.
First of all, I
Danzig.
can't believe
But
in our
at first, the
Facebook poll, this guy voted against Lucifuge.
Dude,
And-
I
he
love
did-
Lucifuge,
but you shitted on Killer Wolf, which is like one of the best songs.
That's a great one.
It's a
Killer
fucking-
Wolves.
Killer Wolf, that's
He
a
sounds
horrible
like
song.
Elmer Fudd,
horrible.
dude.
His
I'm the
versus
wah
Danzig
wah.
won, right?
Yeah.
I voted Danzig won.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
It's
in
not.
Killer
I love
Wolf,
Lucifuge.
Me
I
too,
do
I
too.
love it.
I love the first
But
one
Danzig
more though.
won
Don't
just
you think
like
Chuck
with something
Biscuits is
like
better
you
on-
never
on
heard
one?
before? Anything
Dude,
like
he
that. I don't
kills
know
that
why.
ride cymbal on the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Chuck Biscuits
Chuck
just
Biscuits.
rules
He's
that
a-
album.
Because here's speaking of that,
love that.
so
He's so good.
before we knew who Danzig was, and we were dying laughing,
Dude, Chuck
because
Biscuits is
because
like,
first of all, on the
he's one of my
Headbangers Ball
favorites.
at the time, we were into much more speed. So Anthrax, Halloween, whatever, everything was faster. That wasn't a
Loved
fast
Anthrax.
song.
That's what the Jeff Rosenstock thing.
And it was and he
State
looked,
of Euphoria.
he looked ridiculous.
Ooh, that's
And
a bad album.
and
to
then
come up
and then
on.
he did an interview with
Dude,
Ricky
that was
Rackman.
that's my favorite. I
Right?
still like it.
All right,
I know Elvin
let's
Metalheads hated
focus.
It,
No, I got a point.
Let's focus. Go ahead.
He's doing an interview, and so first we're laughing because it's ridiculous, and then he's talking to Ricky Rackman, and he's saying, on this record for Danzig, he put together his own band. And Chuck Biscuits, one of the greatest drummers, and I'm dying laughing because, I'm like, this guy's got like
Evan
one
used to-
tom tom. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
Dude,
Like, are you kidding me?
He used to make fun of like so much of the shit I used to play him. Like when I played in the Sex Pistols for the first time or something. I remember you and Jamie were just like laughing.
Yeah,
your
Alex
asses off.
was ahead of his time.
Like in your
then I would
basement.
slowly come
And I was
around.
like, "Fuck you guys! I love this shit."
He was
And then
always the first mover. He was an influence. Alex was an influencer. I was
Mover and
the
shaker.
only audience, but then I would get influenced. And maybe Brian Kupchik was in that circle. But yeah.
Evan got me into Hollywood. I mean,
But everything but it comes around. So like my
Broadway
mom
soundtracks.
who is sort of this nebbishy Jewish woman would go to Tower Records and she would talk to the guy and go like, what are the kids listening to, whatever, and she came home with Louder Than Love. And we were like, this is the biggest piece of shit on the, like, Big Dumb Sax, and it's so slow,
I used to
and we're
read
like, this
about
is
them.
terrible. And then, like 5 years later, I'm like, oh, my eyes are open. I'm an idiot. Like,
Yeah, well,
Th-
actually,
this
there was
is-
a
I've
point
seen
where
God.
we loved it because you read about, we used to read about everything and never.
yeah, you were
just, like, go
young
on
too.
Google or-
You think you know everything, and then you know nothing.
I think
But
that
we were a
happens to
little,
everybody,
we were a
man.
little narrow in our focus, and then all the shit that seemed sort of ridiculous was like, it was, then
Yeah,
it became
that's
everything.
amazing.
I think that
So,
happened to me too. With a lot of bands that came before, like Cream or something. Like the thought of that was, I'm like, that shit is so old. And then
Yeah,
like going
it's
back
whack.
and listening to Ginger Baker when my ears were like mature enough or
Sure.
ready enough
Yeah,
to
like
hear
Rolling
it.
Stones. I mean,
And I
come
think
on.
that
Yeah, Pink
that
Floyd
is-
was a little
it's
much when we were
partially
little.
how
Yeah,
great
they're-
the band is, and partially like when you're ready to hear something.
Yeah, exactly,
And when it
yeah,
has
yeah.
the most impact.
Mhm.
I,
on you,
I wasn't
think.
ready for
Yeah, I
Glenn
totally agree.
Danzig, but
I
we
wasn't-
got
Then you
ready.
were, but then it
Few
became,
are
like,
ready
your
for
favorite
Glenn
band ever.
Danzig. That's his power.
Phew.
Yes, few.
I-
Except the Northside Kings guy.
Bam.
I felt.
Oh,
the-
that's sick.
There
I
it is.
love
Yeah.
that.
There it is. I like
Oh, man.
Danzig.
There it is.
Nice. Me too.
I
dude.
forgot about this.
Full circle.
that placement. But yeah, certain bands that, like I think I've mentioned, like when I first heard Social Distortion, I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, this is terrible.
Dude, I was way into them right off the bat. Another
I'm like-
state.
I'm
yeah,
like-
because
You're really cooler than all of us.
Yeah.
You get
Well,
into everything
No,
first.
I bought that for my youngest brother.
Let
Let me guess. You had the demo, right?
no, he found another state
Do I
of
come
mind
off
at a
Listen, bro, I'm breaking your balls. Come on.
I'm really insecure. I don't want. No, I'm just
Don't
kidding.
get him
I was
started.
in the Sabbath
Alex is a
before
fucking
everybody.
he's a pioneer.
Shout out to Brian Lang.
Alex had
putting me in my
girlfriends in the
place.
first grade. He was knocking them down in the first fucking grade, right? Don't lie.
Dude, I'm a fucking.
shout
Dated
You know
them
what?
all-
You
dated
want-
them
you wanna know
all.
another thing I fucking did? Our manager at one point, Vaughn, love Vaughn. Shout out to
Vaughn
Strong
Lewis,
Management.
Strong Management.
Strong out.
I would really
Shout
shout
out
him
to him and Kenny.
Kenny, good boy.
When I heard we used to hang out with Thursday a lot, and Jeff played me
Thursday,
their
shout out.
demo. What's it called? What's that?
My Chemical Romance.
My Chemical Romance, their demo. And I fucking called Vaughn. I'm like, dude, you got to sign these guys. They're going to be fucking huge.
Let's reenact
I
it.
swear,
Let's-
2 years later, fucking triple platinum. There you go.
Let's
All right.
reenact that phone call. Reenact
Triple platinum.
I'll be
I did
Vaughn.
it.
I'll be Vaughn.
How much of that money did you get?
Top of that, Brian Langan.
Same
can't,
amount as the
man.
movie live. 0. Wait, you gonna call? I'm Vaughn. You call me.
Hey, Vaughn, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Alex? Oh, he's
Vaughn.
hanging in there.
That's like his how he his
Yeah,
inflection.
good, hanging in there.
Love that guy. He's
My
the best
Chemical
guy.
Romance, not interested. God, have a good day.
He probably just didn't even take me seriously. I mean, whatever. But I just remember doing that. He probably doesn't even remember that. But I pat myself on the back.
No, I remember.
regularly.
It's pretty clear. Not interested.
Yeah,
All
those
right.
guys are awesome.
So, you guys are hanging out in Baldwin, staring at each other, chasing chicks, going to, record stores. When is it that you guys decide to start playing music? Like, you guys just pick shit up and you're like, hey, I know, let's start a band called the Gonads.
Well, I mean, Evan played drums. He
Obviously,
took
we had an
lessons when
obsession
he
with
was young.
penises.
Yeah.
I was just really into music. I was just a big music fan.
First of
Evan
all,
played
we
music.
first was wrestling, then came music, right?
We
So
had a tag
bonded.
team called the Asian Warriors. We made our own belts out of like
Yeah.
those ping pong.
Neither one of us being
What are those
Asian
called?
or
Those
a
paddles?
warrior.
Well, I
But it
can
was-
say that my father is from South Asia, so
But
I
we-
can reclaim
we were
some Asia.
we were very into the ninja movies at the time, like Ninja
Oh,
3, The
sure.
Domination,
Fucking Revenge of
Shokasugi,
Shokasugi.
whatever.
Yeah, they
So
did
This
the
guy's
end
got
section.
them all.
Yeah.
End section
Yeah.
over there.
Dude,
So-
this guy.
So wait, Ninja the movie
Brian's
and
got-
Ninja the band.
Yeah, it was
I'm
something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude,
There's
a
I,
theme here.
Asian World of Martial Arts. I got that catalog like religiously.
We
I had
would
a
go
ninja
to,
outfit. We had a ninja club. Brian
Yeah,
Kupchak,
like
ninja
everyday
club.
stationery, whatever, and you would get a
Just free
Chinese
out.
star, or you could get a survival knife.
That's when you
or,
could order
um,
Chinese stars out of the back
Yeah,
of like
yeah,
Soldier
yeah,
of Fortune
yeah,
magazine.
Yeah, we used to order
They
stuff
just
from
mail them right
magazines.
to your house.
Yeah,
You didn't
it's
care
crazy.
how old you were.
Ninja culture was
Ninja.
fucking huge.
It makes sense.
I had
Ah.
the chalks. I had the sword, the wooden practice sword. I had
Enter the ninja.
I love Chinese food. I like
Yeah.
Japanese
Nice.
Ah.
Dude, Chinese is not ninja.
What about
food. I apologize.
shout out
Shout out to
ninjas.
Tat.
Shout
Out of
out
that.
Shout out to what's his place, Tycho.
Yeah.
Bruce
Tycho.
Leroy.
Awesome
Shout out to
sushi.
Bruce
Bruce
Leroy.
Leroy,
Yeah.
Last
And
Dragon.
you would sit
Catches
there.
bullets in his teeth.
You would do like the stupid prayers, like from like the ninja
Yeah, like the
movies and
hand
stuff
signals
like
or
that.
whatever the.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
And we killed people.
wow,
Yeah.
of
Nice.
course.
Evan, you're not supposed to tell people.
Keep it low.
You
keep it
tell
low.
him that I was mean in first grade, but not that I was a badass killing machine by sixth grade.
Another funny story about Evan. When we got older, we found some of his old toys in the basement, and instead of his name, it said "mine" on the toys.
Nice.
Pretty awesome.
In case
Mine.
you were thinking if it was yours, it wasn't.
Oh,
It was
It didn't,
mine.
it didn't say Evan Baken. It didn't say Evan. It said "mine."
Very telling. Very
Yes.
telling of the personality. Right
Total prick.
So
Oh, I love you.
like I said.
So
when-
how did we get into music?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I
Like,
have no idea, to be honest with you.
Oh, music. We just like I went. You were in your base. I remember when we started kind of getting into it.
Yeah.
You played the drums. Remember, and then and you had a microphone in your basement. He had this school
Yeah.
basement his parents were awesome. They let him play. And I started singing stuff, and it was just like him playing drums and me singing. Remember Bacon Eggs? I want
Yeah,
my
Bacon and
bacon and eggs. Whoa, bacon and eggs, bacon and eggs. And that's how it
It was our
started.
first
And
non.
then,
It was our first.
Fucking amazing.
And then I got
You
a
can
bass.
see the
I went
genius.
and got a bass. You know what? And
But
that-
it wasn't about ninjas, so it
that
didn't
Van
work.
Halen
It
show.
didn't work.
Yeah.
I saw
Michael Anthony.
Michael Anthony did his bass solo. Like looking back, it probably
Jack
was terrible.
Daniels
Jack
bass?
Daniels probably
bass.
so
Did he
just
drink the
drunk
big-
and playing.
Ah,
Yeah, he
that
was
shit's
doing all
iced
that.
tea, bro.
He was
Kevin
playing,
Dubrow,
a bass
iced
solo,
tea,
and it probably was
guaranteed.
the world's worst bass solo. But I was like, oh my god, that's so awesome!
Yeah.
And I got a bass, and then we started.
And that
kinda
bass was a
playing.
headless Steinberger.
And I
Thank
wrote
you
a
very
lot
much.
of the early songs we played, like in Gonads and all that, just bass. bass lines.
And then Jamie Siegel played guitar.
Yeah, so he
So
was a really good
much
guitar
like
player.
the Beatles, of course, there was 3 people that played different instruments with beautiful voices, and it all came together perfectly. Right?
Yeah, that's just how it happened. Totally,
Pretty much.
Totally.
So
yeah.
that was like what the high school years, basically, right?
This is like early. Yeah, probably like very
That's
early
like junior
school.
high.
Yeah, maybe.
High school, we started to get more.
Yeah,
we could,
I think when we were like
played.
15 is when we started actually.
When Alex got
Point
pubes.
Break, right? Was that what it's called? With Dave.
That's
and
what Johnny
Jeannie, and we
says
did-
it was called.
No, that's what we called it. We played this
Yeah.
Halloween party when I was 15. We were 15. We dressed up. Dave
Sherry
was
Sawyer's house. Shout out
Dave
Sherry
was a pretty-
Sawyer. Sherry Ann Sawyer.
She's listening.
We
She's a
played
big
Guns N'
fan.
Roses. We played
What Guns N'
Danzig.
Roses song?
We did 3 Ramones songs. We did It
It's
So Easy.
Yeah.
We did
Give me the- give me
Devil's
the set
Plaything.
list.
But
All
even
right.
before
All right.
that, we played with my brother Adam.
What do you open
My older
with?
brother, his friend Ed, who's a great guitar
We
player.
opened with Blitzkrieg Bop.
That's
We
how
did Right Into Beat on the Brat.
I have the set list.
We
actually.
did.
Yeah.
You got what is
Devil's
it?
Plaything.
Devil's
was on
Plaything.
it.
It's So Easy. We did London Dungeon.
Dude, I never
Nice.
felt.
We did 2 originals.
I felt so cool. Like I had my girlfriend, like my first like real serious girlfriend. We had the fucking show.
I was naturally
We
single.
played the show. It was like it was fun. Like we met this. We
It was
started
shut down
planning
by
out
the
this-
police. Thank you.
Yeah, it was cool. It was, cool. It was a
Badass.
good time in
Badass.
our lives. Like it's like when you're in junior high or you're in elementary school and you kind of have your group, and then we hit junior high and then your group actually kind of dissolves and everybody comes into other groups and it's kind of to me it was kind of disheartening.
What?
In high school, there's so many other people, so like we
Absolutely.
started branching out and meeting all these people into stuff we were into. And like we met.
That's when we got out of the ninja phase and got into the Edward
just into people,
Scissorhands
into
phase.
punk rock, into all that stuff, into alternative type stuff like, Bauhaus Smiths, anything from like Sex Pistols, Misfits, and then with the
Pixies.
drama kids. My girlfriend was in the drama crew, and then that was a kind of a group, and it just like it was
Never
a really
touched
exciting
the mic.
time.
Now,
Yeah,
now
it was really cool.
speaking of the
Like
Pixies,
like when you're just like you
But-
finally find like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was
like,
still
group of
single.
people.
I was a late bloomer.
well, listen, you knew better than to get a girlfriend if you're going to be in a band.
Yes, I was pacing myself.
Nice.
You could pace yourself out every day. That's usually what I do. Speaking of the Pixies, real quick, what do you think of the fact that Kim Deal's no longer in the band?
I think it's not the Pixies,
No,
That's
to
how you-
me,
which we can talk about when we get to the movie life.
Well, to me, for the Pixies, I was disappointed, but like, I was a big fan when I was younger. I saw like the last tour.
Yeah,
I saw their reunion tour. I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
like a couple of the shows.
Me and
with
Alex
her
did go
since
to the
back,
debate
but, at this
Doolittle
point,
20th
like, they're
anniversary.
doing their thing, and I think that if she doesn't want to be
Friends.
in the band, like,
Well,
it's
should they
fine.
have, the Breeders have a new record.
Yeah,
coming
and the
out.
Breeders, I like the Breeders too.
She
So,
was
I
just
mean,
on WTF.
When is
I
she
mean,
coming
Pod is
on
one
your
of my
show?
favorite records of all time. Like
Next
even the
week.
recording, it's one of my favorite recordings. of
I
all
think for
time.
like $50 she might deliver a pizza.
But,
I think you're thinking of Kelly Deal.
Right.
yeah, when they
the-
broke up that original, I really liked the original incantation or incarnation of the Breeders with Tanya Donnelly, and it just was so I don't know. They had such a cool thing. I
You mean
just
Pod?
loved it. Pod. Yeah, the first album, and they were really good ever since. Even Mountain Battles, like the later stuff, I love that shit. But
Yeah, it's just funny.
By the way, Alex, the influencer, he brought all that shit to the movie life. So when you hear like an Avalanche song or something that's straight up Breeders, that comes from Alex bringing that in, bringing in his fucking legendary Pink Dots and his Bauhaus.
They used to make fun
and
of
all
me
his
too in the
weird
band
shit,
about all
and
this.
then the one that sunk in. So the Pixies got, the Breeders got through, but Guided by Voices. He brought that in, and it became, the laughing stock to everybody's favorite band. So
one
Well,
of my
thank you.
the
favorite.
influencer.
One of my
Damn.
favorite.
I'm the eraser.
one of my favorite bands. I'm glad that Guided by Voices. I feel like they don't get enough.
JBV.
Yeah, I feel like
One of
they
the
don't-
worst concerts we were.
We went to their farewell. That was
It's horrible.
crazy. Like Dave's van got broken into. We got like one of those giant water bottles, and we used that as like that
We were
was our,
urinating in it.
we pre-gamed hardcore on Long Island, and we went.
Where
to
was the
stadium,
show?
we were
Irving Plaza.
Irving.
It-
Yeah,
It was their last. Was that their last tour before they broke up?
yeah.
Or
It was like probably
yeah.
2004 or
It was something.
2005.
I know we went with Dave and you, and then his car got broken into, and they stole the
Hmm.
radio. I think.
Didn't they have
But-
like a bar? They had like a bar on stage, right?
Oh, God, I don't. We were just completely obliterated. I mean, they were too. I mean, just it was
Yeah.
one of those things.
It just wasn't. There are two bands that I feel like, maybe three. I don't want to count. I don't know if I saw the Ramones or not. But
I saw them run
Guided by
twice.
Voices and
Twice.
Archers
Awesome.
Aloft to me were the biggest letdowns. We're like I couldn't
Their records.
I couldn't listen
amazing.
to the music again the same way. Like it wasn't. It was not as
I
much
actually
fun
saw
because they were
Pavement
so
too,
bad
and
live.
I was kind of
Really?
it was
also
upsetting.
even Pavement. I was pretty disappointed with Pavement too, and those are three like bands that I just absolutely loved. You know,
I've never
but-
been disappointed. I've seen Pavement a few times.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know what.
You have very
I just
low
wasn't that
expectations.
into it. It was really just not my thing. Maybe I just wanted a different type of show.
You were
when I-
with us, me, when we saw Archers Aloft. It was horrible.
Yeah, at Coney Island.
Coney Island High. It was
Yeah.
terrible. It was like a CMJ. It was so bad. Like it was like when they walked on stage, I was like, this isn't the band.
They
and
kind
then
of
they played.
Really,
I was like,
they
oh my
packed
god,
you-
this
it was
is
just
terrible.
a bad experience because they pack you in like sardines. They oversold it. You know, you go to get a beer. Not that makes a good show or not, but like I go and I have to get like I'm holding two. You can't even move.
Are there any
Right.
shows
The
that
opening
you guys
band
did
played, and then they came out like an hour and a half later.
Every
like it was
other
like
show.
a fucking arena show, and I was just like, "This is."
First
my
of all-
mood was just sour at that point.
Right.
I'm, like,
I'm sure you would all agree.
It's
Those
like
those
they didn't give a shit.
those
It's
other
like-
shows, the Van Halens, the Cinderellas, the Motley Crues, those were the greatest shows in the history of
I
going to
appreciate
shows.
them later on because it's like it was more entertainment. Like
Yeah, it was all production.
For people growing up
Yeah,
liking
and I didn't-
wrestling,
but then,
it was
I
like
was really into
kind
a
of
lot
like
bands that
wrestling.
When they went on stage, they just seemed like they didn't give a fuck. Like almost like they're doing you a favor and they can't wait to get off the stage.
You know what? That
and I
is
really
the-
didn't
Yeah.
like that. That's what with those a lot of those.
So we
indie rock
started
bands,
a band
I love
the
their records and I
same
listen to them. But
thing.
I'll never go see them because they're fucking boring.
yeah.
And I'd rather go somewhere like I'd rather go see Danzig or
You always
or
want a little
some other band that I
value.
think
You
that-
always want a little production value.
Production,
And-
little theatrics.
Yeah, at some point it
Animation.
became
energy,
lame.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
or something. You
It-
know?
at some
You
point
know.
that became too over the top or too whatever. But you have to give something to an audience. Like you're paying money, right? You don't sound like a cliche. You're paying hard-earned money. Most of the people that just get up and go through the motions, it's a letdown. It's a
Like I
bum
could be
out.
bored in my basement and listen to records.
Yeah, I
you
didn't
know?
need to
Probably
see
more
Guided by
comfortable, and I would,
Voices, have a light
bathroom
show
handy.
or set something on fire, but like be engaging in some way. Pretend you want to be there, do something interesting, do an oddball song, do something eclectic, do anything to, make me
Sure.
value that I
That's-
spent money on.
It's
that's
a
a
visual
super-
performance as
that's a
well,
s-
just
Yeah.
as
I
much
mean,
as
because
the
if you just want to
audio.
listen, you can just listen at home.
I remember
so.
seeing the Butthole Surfers at which Lollapalooza was that? The first or the second?
I think probably the second.
Dude, Gibby was so wasted, throwing skeets up in the air and shooting them. Had a shotgun.
That's pretty
Oh,
awesome. Though.
shit.
It was fucking bananas.
That was the
But-
first one because Henry Rollins just told that story that Gibby had a shotgun and they were like, "Yo, never again can
Yo,
you
they
do
were
that."
just throwing
yeah.
shit. It was fucking
That's
for
nuts.
real. He was shooting this
Like-
shit.
Yeah.
He did that in
Like,
New
what
York.
the
He'll probably go
fuck?
to jail for about 5 years.
It was in
right?
Jersey
Yeah,
at
and
that Waterloo Village, whatever the
Oh,
fuck
wow.
it was. Yeah.
Speaking of
It's
getting
nuts.
In
money's
Camden?
worth,
yes, yeah.
do you
Dude,
know?
I wasn't
He
there.
was a shotgun blast away from being the next Great White. Jesus Christ.
hey,
Well, it was open air,
Too
know. He had-
soon.
Oh,
soon.
yeah.
if you skeet shooting
Too
indoors,
soon.
It'd probably always be too soon because that was terrible. I'm sorry, I even made a joke.
oh my god,
It was too soon for
What
them
kind
to
of
go back and
influencer are
record
you?
new material. I think that was too
All right.
soon.
So
Sam will drop that part, but he'll leave when you called me a selfish prick, first grader.
At the first
Evan's
grade thing.
obsessed with his
speaking
image.
of
My
getting
Bugle Boys.
speaking of getting your money's worth, I'm just going to interject and say that at the moment, Dio's wife is talking about using
Yes, the virtual Dio.
Yes.
a hologram. Like,
Yeah.
is that insane? You want to talk about getting your money's worth? Like,
Yeah.
I could understand, like, you're grieving Ronnie. Maybe you do one show like that. They're talking about taking a
The hologram
Dio
on tour.
You know what? It
hologram.
all depends on how they execute.
Can I ask a question?
You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Whatever. I'm not gonna go.
Can I
I
ask you-
expecting
thought
to
it
see
was
Dio, but
at
like
first I thought it was like, God, that's so like using a corpse practically or disrespectful. But then I was like, you know what? What if like,
be like
you
a
know, I got a
celebration of
kid.
him.
What if he gets in the Dio? Like he's never obviously gonna see him. There was people that died before I got the chance to see him, like Hendrix. So at least you're going there, you're listening to music, you're seeing this
I have a
thing.
question.
they do like a multimedia,
Who
like
gives a
something
fuck, you know?
visually cool, like something. I don't know. I don't
Run
give
the
a fuck.
show.
I used to
Run
care
the
about
show.
stuff
I have a
like that. I
question.
think whatever,
I've
you know, if
I've lost
people
the
gonna,
show.
If people are gonna
I
enjoy
lost
it,
the show as soon as I hit play.
sorry, dude.
Um,
That was the
I was
4
like,
wood
dude,
blocks.
Right, I was like, I hope we're not gonna ruin your show.
Listen,
'cause
It's
Here's
those
my-
Dr. Peppers. Cut that
Evan
guy
and I are
off.
like the worst.
These are minis. Here's the question: what's on the rider for the hologram?
that's a really good
Double A
question.
batteries.
Yeah.
Just keep it going.
We could basically find out.
6 waters.
Fucking Bunny.
But I mean, couldn't they just
four towels?
Couldn't they just get Carla Tortelli from Cheers to fucking sing? No, but seriously, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just thinking.
If you go to a virtual show, do you pay with Bitcoin? That's what
I'm just thinking. Like, wait, hold on.
I'm here all night.
Yeah. But
at least if you're one of those guys that likes throwing bottles at bands, you're not going to hurt anybody.
totally.
You know what I'm saying?
No victims.
They could get the jollies and,
maybe if it's
They
like
should make it like Futurama and just push
You
his head
suck,
out in a
fake
jar
Dio.
instead.
yeah, or like a cheap ticket, like nothing
Yeah.
too expensive.
Right.
Because like
It's like when you go see a laser light show. Maybe
Yep.
it's cool.
Dio
Like,
at the Hayden
but where's it going to
Planetarium.
end?
if they have like
is-
a live band just sitting up there and
It'll
it's
never
just him and his hologram, that's terrible.
Where's it going to end,
But
though?
they
Like,
have-
because I could see Wendy Dio, like, taking the Dio hologram to, like, open a mall or cut a ribbon on a Walmart. She's
HOV
got, like,
lane.
virtual scissors. And, like, this...
the HOV lane.
I'll pack
Yeah.
I'll pack Dio back in the van, drive to the next fucking,
Rip Dio.
state fair.
Yeah, like what's next? Like, what if like the Wu-Tang dies in a plane crash? Or we're gonna get 9 holograms now.
Oh God,
Shout out to the Wu.
that couldn't
Yes.
possibly be good.
Maybe one
Yeah.
hologram to
Oh,
do them
you
all.
did it.
I heard Frank Zappa they were doing that with, too. Which
Bad
I'm
idea.
sure and I think the kids were all fighting over it.
Yeah,
They were fighting over the
a lot
estate of the
Because Zappa's
hologram.
the kind of guy. I wasn't a big Zappa fan. I respect the musicianship,
Me too.
obviously,
Same. I
but
do respect his musicianship, but I just never.
and him and what he stood for. I know for a fact that dude would not want a hologram of him played around. I'm sure.
Yeah,
of
probably
it.
not.
And it seems disrespectful in that case. Maybe Dio didn't give a fuck. You know, I don't know.
Maybe she's running the show. So
Pretty
all right.
much.
But Dio, shout out to Dio in the Pick of Destiny.
Yeah.
That was the best fucking part. That movie was a letdown for me, but that
Really?
intro
That
scene,
movie's so good.
Cock
the intro
push-ups?
scene was just phenomenal with Jack
Yeah.
Black when he was little,
Very
and
talented.
then
And Meatloaf?
yeah, the Meatloaf part, like just it would set it up. It
Shout
was
out to
like,
Meatloaf.
It was pretty like downhill from there, though. I mean, it was all right. Tim Robbins was terrible. I like Tim Robbins. It was terrible.
Is it, you prefer like Joe Rubino to come back and just be like, yo, fuck that guy, fuck MySpace, fuck Facebook.
Yeah, he's gonna
Fuck
fuck your
social media.
face up. That's what he's gonna fuck.
He is. Joe
Joe has
Rubino's.
nothing to do with that. It's all.
Shout out to Joe Rubino. It's been 19 years. I miss you.
yeah, you can go get a haircut.
Just hearing
Nice.
Joe's voice makes me sound less of a man. Like
Yeah.
I'm a beyond a pussy
He has a
when I
very-
hear Joe Rubino.
Yeah, before we.
I can't even take a piss next to that guy. Love Joe.
It's totally emasculating.
Did we ask Joe to be in the band? We had to have asked Joe to be in the band at least once.
Maybe I think maybe.
Yes, I think so.
Nah, you guys are
Do
pussies.
a follow up on the Joe Rubino.
And then he did Dearly Departed.
Can you ask your
like, what
stats?
the fuck?
Yeah.
He
But that was
do.
years later though.
He did.
All right, so listen, Eddie.
Shout
I
out
don't
to
really,
Mike
I don't really
Malamo.
get Malamo.
Ed. Wow.
A lot of hate in this room.
Yeah.
A lot of hate.
Well, listen.
You could edit that part out.
Speaking of that,
Plus,
Dude, shout out to fucking
I've asked-
Inside for introducing
come
me
on,
to
Malamo. I've asked you
Dude,
to have
seriously,
dinner like
I want
6
to talk
times.
about this since I heard this. Scrapple.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Started
you know what?
Pennsylvania.
Dutch
I
Wonderland.
recall it totally differently. I think we were in I think we were in Maryland. I think we were in Maryland when they introduced me to Scrapple. It was like one of those regional dishes. And I actually was in a supermarket by my house, and they had Scrapple. And I was gonna bring it as a gift to you, but I didn't. I came straight from work, and I couldn't do that.
I think I still have some of
Alex-
Malamo's beers.
Alex was the influencer. He brought Scrapple in. He was the first one to
Yeah.
bring in Scrapple.
The Inside gets all respect for that.
Inside took us on our first tour.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was
Awesome.
great. We went all the way to California and back.
Shout out to Tom.
There it is. There's
Craig,
nothing. There's nothing
Vinny.
funny about that.
Okay.
Except Mike Malamo definitely had a boner when he was singing most often. Chris had a boner a few times too, from
Did
what I
he?
recall. Yeah,
Nice.
he had some wood.
Hey, he's Greek. You know.
Shout out
Yeah.
to Chris, man. He put out a 7-inch for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
He did put his 7-inch
Yeah,
out
yeah,
apparently
yeah.
because
What
he
do
had
you
a
see?
boner
There you
on
go.
stage.
Yeah,
7
dude. I always
inch.
think of that. Like when I think of like movie
The
stuff, that's
boner?
one of the things. No, well, that's
I
it.
think
I'll
about
tell you a
that
story.
boner often.
I'll tell you a story.
Yeah, he put out the X number 5.
Yep.
Listen,
Split.
Evan,
Yeah, the split.
Fucking
Evan
awesome.
has a story.
I have a story because we went on tour. Alex, when he was a young lad, was very germ. Again, he's an influencer. He would always look at his silverware, and if it had spots,
When I
he
was
would
a kid, I
he would
was
put it
pretty
down. He wouldn't
OCD about
he wouldn't
stuff like
touch it. But when we were on tour with Inside, he shared a joint with a guy I think had like 3 teeth in his mouth. put it right to his lips.
Long Beach, California.
That's different, man. That's different.
Nice.
Dude, don't talk about
when
that.
you smoke. Not
It's
this Alex,
legal in
a
California.
different Alex.
That other guy.
Yeah.
Alex Weinstein, my favorite Jewish,
Nice Jewish boy.
nice Jewish boy.
Back in the day, that's what you had a blunt and you smoked it. No matter how disgusting the person was, you just passed.
Dude, but it's
Yeah.
It was
but
part
you
of
know
the
what?
community.
We were in Long Beach in California.
PCH.
We were playing a show with some really like
That
punk
place had
rock
like
bands,
pigeons
really
buried in the
cool.
wall. It was
Is that-
And we
disgusting.
met like there
Is
was
that
like
when
this
you
whole
played the
group
white-
of like
the-
Mexican like
that when
punk
you
rocker dudes, and they were the fucking coolest guys. And one of the guys I think booked shows there. It was like this place that like just
PCH.
They didn't really book. It was almost like that.
Wasn't
that
the
place
white
in Berkeley,
supremacist show you guys
like
played?
where they just book like they wouldn't
That was
book,
my
like
bar
a
mitzvah.
signed band like to a major label or anything. And these guys were just so fucking cool, and it was just it was just I don't know that guy. I didn't even.
That
think
guy,
of
that
It's weird,
Alex
like,
saw
when you,
something in
like,
that
kinda
guy.
make a connection
He
with
touched
somebody, you don't
him.
even think of shit like
You had
that.
a connection.
No, but it was a lot of fun. I got caught up. You know, it was nice. Nice. I liked it.
You're like, quick, roll a joint. I need to swap
You're
spit
like,
with
you're
him.
like, I'm not putting this fork in my mouth. Give me that joint from the guy with 2 teeth, please.
Dude, you didn't have 2 teeth.
You had 3.
Disrespect. A lot of hate in this room.
So
Evan's
You
anyway,
had to open up the mine, Pandora's box.
real quick, because people will kill me if I don't ask. The first thing that the Movielife recorded, what was it? Was it the Red demo?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, how did those songs come
Yes.
about? Did you guys like? Because I think you guys. You told me that you guys wrote a lot of stuff together. So you
Yeah.
were
Like
just
we did most of the stuff
Yes.
was like we would just jam. Like we jam out parts.
Eddie Reyes taught Alex how to play and drop D.
Yeah, he just like so I'm like, oh wow, he just tuned that one string because I didn't know shit about experience like writing stuff in bands with, but mostly with the bass.
We only rented him for like one demo. That's Eddie had him go to
Such
the
a
next
dick.
band. He had to go around.
he did like
I don't know. There was times where he just wasn't happy, and then he quit a bunch of times.
He
I
quit,
mean,
he
maybe
quit
there
for
were-
that lovely
No.
band Runner Up that went nowhere.
No,
so.
but because we started out, look, you let's get philosophical. You start, you figure out in time like what you're gonna be or what you're gonna become or how the shit evolves into what our sound would be or something like. So I think we started out in D and we had a bunch of songs and then it just became different. He wrote less. Alex wrote more. It was in E. It just went in a different way, and I guess he felt, whatever,
Yeah.
left
I mean,
out
I
or whatever.
seriously don't
And it was a
remember,
different.
but-
It was like a different time. Like you're still part of the scene, and it was more sensitive, and I think he felt like he was a part of something, then he wasn't a part of it.
okay.
And
Yeah, I don't know. I just think maybe he was.
But he basically jumped. He was in every. Like,
Yeah, I mean, he's like,
band.
you know what?
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He's the reason we started the band. He called us and he wanted to do it with us. I don't, back then I don't remember. Like, we're all younger. We're going through different things in our lives. Like, maybe, I don't really remember, like, what it was. But I remember, like, him feeling like he wasn't happy. And he quit a couple times and then he quit. And, I don't know. But, dude, he's a great guy. You
Yeah.
know, it's just I don't know really. I don't remember
Well,
exactly
listen, it
what
worked
happened.
worked out pretty good for him in the
Yeah,
end.
no, and
For him,
and
damn it,
and all those good
Yes.
dudes, that whole band, like love all those guys.
Yeah.
like I root for them every second. I love them. I think they're great. And if everything worked out the way it was supposed to work out, you
Yeah.
know, like
wait, we were supposed to lose.
well, I don't think I left.
Damn it.
I mean, I feel like I'm happy. I'm glad for the experience that I had, but also at the same time, like when I left, I was miserable. Like I didn't like it. I wasn't, getting along with the guys in the band. I wasn't into the music that they wanted to do. As we got more popular.
So it's the same thing.
I
It's
didn't
like
think
the Eddie
everybody
thing
kinda
on a
wanted to
different
change things.
on a different
Everybody's
level.
roles changed.
So 5
Yeah.
years later,
Everybody
you were
wanted
Eddie.
to, and
Exactly. Well, because it wasn't his band. Like so.
well,
at
the
so-
thing is, like, yeah,
Y-
you say what you're gonna say. I'll
okay.
say it. I mean, it's,
Okay. This is
we
what
might
I'm.
have
This is
different
what I'm
perspectives,
thinking.
You know.
Wait, I'm gonna say.
All
Okay.
right.
I'm thinking.
Evan and I did have a
Here
falling
we
out
go.
for a couple of
Damn.
years. We didn't talk, but now we're back.
We're
to
back.
BFFs, so.
We're back talking over each other. I think that it's when we started the band, it was like Eddie's band, right? He was literally a legendary guy, for lack of a better word, in the scene, and it kind of got away from him. And when we hit our stride, it was mine and Alex's band, and then the other guys kind of took it away. In other words, Vinny became sort of enraptured with this idea that he was the band or he was the singer, and the label sort of empowers him to think that way, and the manager sort of empowers him to think that way, and then the dynamic changes. All of a sudden, he wants to write all the songs, or he wants to write any songs, and he's cutting out, parts all of a sudden, or he's a critic, or he's going to produce, or he's going to do this. And the whole thing changes from what it was. So, I think maybe that's why I left, because it wasn't, it wasn't our band anymore. Like, wasn't what it was. It became, to sound a cliche, a business. And, it
That
just,
was the worst part. I mean,
it was all different. It wasn't, and everything was now, we're writing a song. Like, is this a hit? Is this or this? He started to approach it with like this intellectual bullshit of like
Rivers Cuomo.
Well, he really
has
basically
success.
is the band of that band.
Yeah,
It's like,
but
it's
like
Saves the
it
Day,
just
the Chris
became different.
band,
So I think it
it's just
became
that.
quickly different with Eddie, and then we had our thing, and then it just became different.
That was that, and I think you're right. I mean, I felt like we had to, all of a sudden we had to start tuning down lower, and then made our songs sound like farty. It sounds weird, but like I'm not really a trained musician or anything, but like everything was written in a certain way, and then when you tune down, the way that strumming is, the way the flow of the chords is,
Yeah, of course.
it just sounded bad. And then the newer stuff, it was like I felt like I was trying to be creative, and a lot of it was like knocked down. It was simplified, and it was kind of like almost sounding like a lot of the bands we were touring with. Like we toured with so many different types of bands, hardcore bands, but then there was a point where we were playing with like, Good Charlotte, Midtown, Goldfinger, all great bands in their own right. But that's not us, and I felt like that was the shift, and it's kind of very tempting because you go to those shows and it's like we're playing in front of thousands of kids.
Yeah,
Are
sure.
we
But the
taking a
thing
break?
You were talking about all the tours you were doing, like kind of with Good Charlotte and all that other stuff.
Yeah, how the sound changed, like how
I just think
the
it had
dynamic
maybe
changed.
I don't know if it was, but it definitely felt like that's the direction that everybody wanted to go in. And
But you were involved in like the first
we did
6
that
or
EP.
7 years.
We did that EP.
You were involved in everything but the last full length.
The
Basically.
last record, yeah.
So,
But and even demos for it and songs that made it onto that, he was
Yeah, I
part of the
started
writing
through
process.
the writing
now,
process.
now,
with
now,
that,
Evan,
but-
when he
Yes.
decided to leave, how did you feel?
you're skipping ahead.
Oh, all right, sure. I don't know.
Everyone wants to
No,
get to
it's fine if you want
Oh no,
to confuse
no.
Anthony.
Yeah, definitely. That's fine. So, I'll just edit that out.
No, I could answer that, or we could get to it in chronological order, whatever you want.
We might be here for a long time.
Yeah, I'm
Just
just.
slow build.
I'm just.
When Alex left, if you must know,
Sure.
because you asked, it was horrible. It was horrible because, number one, me and him started the band, right? So this was the guy who, we've done everything together since the second grade. We were in 6 other bands where it was always us and different people. And then this was the band that actually worked. So we had put in all this time. We would do whatever things, together when we weren't torn. Like we were friends every day forever. And then on a band's side, when he left, I had no voice. Like I was always outnumbered. And when he was in it, it was always me and him. So we always, not that we always got our way, but the thing worked because we worked together and we always got shit done and we always made certain things happen, that the crap that nobody cares about, right? Just simply getting off tour, paying bills, or sending out shit in the mail, or, trying to get shows, like all the other crap. We did it together. And then, like saying this, everything starts changing and people start thinking they're bigger than they are, or that they have, that the band is holding them back, or that they should be bigger, doing more things or writing more songs or whatever. And then when he left, I was like all alone and I had nobody to get my opinion across, or nobody else whose, opinion I valued. And then I was just outnumbered. And the funny thing is we put out that record and it was like the biggest selling record just because there was more money and marketing behind it, but the band was over in like a year.
Yeah.
So we worked. There was the combination that worked, and it worked up until that time. And when he left, I think some people think, no, that's when we hit our stride or whatever. And I'm like, that's bullshit. It ended, almost abruptly. So I was very sad, and we didn't talk for 5 years.
Wow, that's
So,
crazy.
There you go.
But so
Way to bring down the room, Dick. We could have built up to it, but
Well, we reunited because of alternative press, actually.
no, well, I
that's
mean,
right.
So
Retelling the Movielife story brought us together,
that is true.
and it's not even a lie.
But
Well, you
Just-
said that is true, so It's true.
I know that the first show that you guys actually played was at your house, because I feel like a lot of people always bring it up.
Yes.
I think there was like some footage on there. So
And you mentioned that before.
Yep.
I did. So because my parents, like, my siblings were all gone. I was the only one left in my house. We had a basement.
I played in his basement actually once.
Damn right.
He had good
Was
shows.
it at our
Those
show?
Shows, the basement
Yeah.
shows.
We
You're-
we had like a stage. I had like a side thing. It was like all carpeted.
Yep.
There was like a pole in the middle, but whatever.
I think Millhouse played too. I think Millhouse.
Yeah, Millhouse.
Yearly. I think might
Last
have
Days of August maybe
probably.
played.
Yep.
And then like I was done a half dozen shows or whatever. But me and Alex were doing shows. We did shows. We were in the Sand Pebbles. We did at PJ McLean's. We did shows at that place in Oceanside that got shut down at the basement. So we tried, we did what we could.
But-
we gave back.
And
But
you-
I had shows occasionally in my house. We'd get, a touring band, a
Yeah.
place to play, get a collection, throw them a few bucks, whatever.
And your first show, I think Glass Jaw played that too, right?
Air Type 11, right?
Maybe,
yeah, it was
maybe,
big.
maybe
It was a lot
Motive.
of-
I think I don't remember.
The Sons of Abraham.
Ask Mike
played,
Dubin.
Show.
Oh.
Maybe it was.
I think
There was
he's
another
the one
show
who
with, like,
booked it.
no-
He's the
Sons of Abraham,
statistician, Mike Dubin.
No.
So
Yeah.
did he? And was he in charge of?
Unless that was the Sears model. I don't know. I forget.
Was he in charge of that the label that put out the
Fadeaway, right?
Fadeaway?
He
right?
wasn't. He just somehow inherited it, as opposed to all of us who made the record. So that
Oh,
makes no
really?
sense.
No,
Yeah.
he was working with
Yeah.
the guy. I forget his name. The guy
Dave?
that worked at the
Dave
bowling
Cohen
alley.
was his
Yeah.
name, maybe.
He financed it, I think, and he started it with Mike. The album.
Mike just kind of took it.
So.
And like back then, like what does a label like that do for you guys? Like for the first demo?
They didn't nothing.
I
They
think
had nothing to do with the demo.
I think they. Not the demos.
No.
It was.
So we did the Red
did a
demo
record
with Mike Sapone, again, early influencer.
Long Island fame.
I think we were the first.
We
I
got,
swear we were
you
the
know
first.
What? Ancient Chinese Secret. They did their demo there.
Did they?
Yeah, and we
were second.
And they did, and it was from that Fleischman connection.
Listen,
that-
number 2's
shout out to
okay.
Ancient Chinese Secret.
And Tommy Corrigan did the logo.
Um,
Red demo, right?
TC did the logo.
And then
Yep.
I think Eddie started using it for his other bands too, and then a lot of other Long Island bands started using Sapone, like
Yeah.
I think Brand New and Taking Back Sunday.
So we
all
did the
that
Red
stuff.
demo.
They did a comp.
We did tapes with Aaron Barlow's mom. Sold them at shows, mailed them out, did all the usual DIY stuff. Then we did the White demo. Okay, that was another tape. I think we recorded that with General George and
Mhm.
Juan.
Shout
yeah.
out to
And
the Gen.
Yeah,
did a
that
little
was- I
magic
love
shop
that.
on
I
that.
love-
Did
I love
whatever,
that. I
pieced
love
it
that demo.
together. Then we were supposed to do a record for this guy, Clean Records. I think what it was.
Wow.
Total sham. This dude, and we recorded it. We recorded the songs. George Reynolds did
Yeah.
backups on like 2 of them. It never came out. Never saw the light of day. That was like our big break, right?
Because the guy didn't pay the studio or something, and
Then
yeah,
we
wow.
did Go Time, which basically was the same thing. We paid for the studio or whatever. We did it ourselves. We mixed it, and so Fade Away. He made up the label basically.
I think they pressed it and maybe got
they
show
paid
on
for
maybe
some of the
Revelation
stuff,
or
but there
something.
wasn't.
Yeah,
there
maybe.
wasn't.
It was just like a stamp, like just
Yeah.
kind of to
Yeah, it
have
was
something
cool.
to
Yeah.
go back. Because back then, like when you were in a band, like I mean maybe today too, but like just having that stamp was so official. You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
it makes you
shit.
feel good, and
You're
these
like,
were like
oh,
people
yeah.
that we made friends with.
Yeah,
that
if you
from
want, and
playing
you
shows,
could
and
get
it was-
you
it
could
was
get stuff
cool.
in a
It kinda felt
store.
like
Like
you were part
you'd
of
be on
something.
tour, you'd walk into a record store, you'd leave 3 on consignment. He was more apt to take it if it was on a label or something. You know,
And like back then, like how would a band, without the internet and like cell phones, get their music out?
first of all, we would send it to you'd find anything in a fanzine or whatever,
They
and you would mail
distros.
it.
People did
Mail it
distros,
because you'd mail it to reviews. So like an Under the Volcano or whatever. So if you got a good review, maybe some people would get it. If you played a show, you'd go to the record stores, try to leave flyers,
Yeah, we used to
try
bring
to get
to
them
all
to
the
take
record stores,
3 to
yeah.
5
Flyers right there.
flyers. Try to get them to take 3 or 5 records on consignment. And you talk to kids and you give them something, a flyer. You give them
Yeah.
a tape. People trade
And
it.
when you go on tour too, you meet these guys. They have their own distros. The famous Rick to Life has that.
Sure.
Shout out to
You'd-
Rick
you'd
Life.
shop-
Right. So you'd
All
find.
right,
You'd
so there
shout
was
out
a
to
lot
Rick
of
to
kids
Life.
that did like kind of pretty legitimate, really cool things.
Yeah,
like
but you do the
distros
same
at
thing.
shows,
You'd
they set up
sell 5 tapes to some kid in
Yeah.
He's selling
If
your-
they really
Robbie
liked
Red
it, they would
Cheeks
buy them for,
or
like, super
whoever.
cheap, and they would get it out.
He's
Yeah.
selling your demo right now.
I
for
think
$200.
Revelation actually. I don't know if they still
Not
do that, but they
surprised.
had a distro too. Revelation Records, not a part of their label, but it was part of the label, but it wasn't like you're signed to them. But they would distro, and I think that they ended up destroying Go Time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
so you have like Go Time going out and like you figure what was that like 99?
Initial Records did a distro.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Go Time.
Something like
I don't know
99.
if they did.
So
Yeah, it
like
was like 99.
the scene was pretty much popping at that time.
Yeah,
All
and
the
we were
guys-
doing, and so, you know, again, like the dynamic at that time or how it works is we're writing the stuff. So Alex is like, we're jamming. He's coming up with all the stuff. Vin's doing the lyrics. And then all the crap that nobody cares about, me and him are doing, you know? Vin's not booking any shows.
There was definitely a certain point where Evan started doing a lot of it, so I can't. And definitely early on we were
but
together.
it's all basic
then-
grassroots shit. You're finding anyone you can to give a show. You're trading. I'll give you a show
I
in my
kinda
basement.
did
Give us
check
a
out
show
at a
there.
point.
to this day, yeah, that's how you did it.
Yeah,
I
you-
definitely
you-
checked out at a point, and I definitely know that
And-
it probably wasn't fair to Evan. But
But whatever.
what- yeah.
Every band has the dynamic,
Because
right?
I
Of
was
who
just
does
not-
what and who is better at things than other people. So Alex is writing. I'm doing all the, nonsense, paying whatever bills. You're building it up. We got a van, whatever. We did a tour with Inside. Then we did a tour with Kill Your Idols. So Andy Idols takes us out, shows us, the tour book and how to do stuff. And you meet more people. So, like, we'll come back to this place next time. Like, it's all networking 101, right?
It was also
You're-
we were
you're-
very fortunate because the scene was really strong back then.
Yeah.
I feel like
I mean,
remember
you would
people-
play in a house, you'd play in a basement, you'd
No,
play in a venue. You
I
could,
remember like when we had I think it was the Red demo. Like we've been playing for a little while, and I think we started getting pretty popular. And then there was like a dip for like a little bit, like where it seemed like almost like it was falling off. But then there was like a resurgence, and we put out our the
When
Red
Go Time
demo. I
came
believe it was like we sold like 100 demos. I could not believe it. It was at Deja One. We did our release, and I was just like I couldn't believe it. Like it was just so wild.
I feel like people would just go to shows no matter what was going on.
yeah, I mean, it
people
could
went
be
to
like,
shows to
it
see new
didn't matter.
bands. People went
I mean,
to
if there was
to
a
do,
huge
right?
band, there would be like more people, but 3 like just local bands could play, and there'll be hundreds of kids.
But also,
coming,
if kids
it's a lot
dug
of
you,
fun.
they'd buy the thing.
yeah. So,
But we didn't.
we sold
Once
a lot
Go
of stuff
Time
at
came
shows,
out,
though.
that kind
Even
of,
Go Time.
for lack of a better word, legitimized it. All of a sudden, we play Long Island, and people knew enough songs, right? Instead of knowing 3 songs, they knew 10 songs. The shows got like instantly better
Yeah.
once Go Time came out. And then, like you're saying, it seems to be on a label. It's a product. Other people take you seriously when you go to other towns. You start getting better shows. You meet other bands. Then we did a few splits and all that. And you're basically just trading up
But it
everywhere
was
you go, right?
definitely a grind. It seems like it was like on Long Island, we definitely benefited from that. But like the outside of Long Island, it was definitely tough. Like
Yeah.
we would work temp jobs and shitty jobs, and really save
I don't
up
think we
enough money
ever. I don't think we
just
ever turned down a show.
to go on
North
tour.
Carolina for a Saturday, why not?
Yeah,
West
we did.
Virginia, why not?
We paid to go on
Burlington,
tour for a
Vermont,
long
here we
time,
go,
You
you
know,
know?
I
And-
feel like that's how to do it, though. I feel like you just
Yeah.
basically.
It seemed to us at the time that's how you do it. Like there was,
Did the
there's
Book
a
Your Own
million
Fucking
bands.
Life,
And Joe
under the
Rubino was
Volcano
talking about it.
fanzine.
There's bands that just didn't want to get off Long Island. They didn't want to tour. They didn't want to do it. So
We would tour
what separated us had
to
nothing
play
to
for
do
fun of
with
5 kids in like the middle of nowhere.
it had nothing to do with were they better songs, were we a good live band. We just did it, and we just kept doing it because seemed to be what made sense.
Now
Seemed to this is how you do it.
Did you guys have that thought process back then? As like kind of like that this is what you wanted to do? Were you thinking ahead like 5 years? Like holy shit, if we keep going.
I mean,
we
I
could
would
do
have
this for a
loved to
living?
do it. I mean, I was definitely more.
Was that the
idealistic.
thought
I was
process,
like, I
or-
was like,
I don't think it was.
It was just like what
We just
today-
kept going, and it
Yeah,
just
I mean,
never
I just-
stopped. It
I
got
just-
bigger. Like
I
it
would
just,
like to, you think like, if we could do this, that would be great. I definitely thought I didn't like foresee. I was definitely naive about business type stuff. Like I thought, we come from this scene where we're like supposed to be like it's supposed to be better than the typical. We're just here to be rock star type thing, and it definitely was weird. The business part, it definitely was a turn
I
off to
think-
me.
Yeah, it's always.
At the same time, maybe at that point in my life, I think now if it happened the way I am, like I probably would have been fine with it. But it was
well,
just
especially Evan. This
it was
fucking guy
it was definitely a turn off.
excelled
You know,
in
everybody.
business.
There's all these people that get involved into your band business. They change. They empower some people. There's just like all these weird things that happen, and it's really coming from like I guess a punk rock type of kind of background. it just didn't feel. It felt weird. It felt
Like
it
when
just
we
didn't feel stupid to
did a
me.
band, because we always like playing together. When you read about like Motley Crue and Nikki Sixx is like, I had a vision for a band. I wanted this guy as the singer. I wanted the crazy drummer. I wanted this and that. I knew we could do X. I wanted to be the next Sweet or whatever. We didn't have any. There was zero plan. We just wanted to play. People came and went, and we just kept going. And then at some point, we had more of that than the temp work. And then at some point, we had only that. And then at some point, instead of paying to be in it, you were breaking even. And so it just kept going. And probably we should have had a plan. Like if we said, we're going to model ourselves after this band, or we're going to, this is where we never, ever,
we didn't
ever
have,
had
like,
a talk.
Any image. We never took
What do we want to
photos
be?
unless
Where
the
do we want?
magazine
We
was
never
doing it.
had, and again, also to the fault of our manager. So eventually you get a manager. You never had a talk. What are we going to do? What's the next 2 months look like?
So-
What's the next 6 months look like? What is the goal? We just kept going.
So with
So
this,
that was the
We
problem.
didn't really have a
with this
plan.
thought process
No image,
now.
no plan, no pics, photos, none.
So
Sorry.
with,
Yeah.
with this
That's
thought
it.
process now, like what would you tell your younger selves to keep, like what would be the advice? Basically.
I mean, at that point, we were talking about how, like, when I left, I wasn't really happy with the direction of the music and stuff. But there was also other things, like there was personal differences
do
between.
you regret leaving?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't regret at all. I regret that it. Sometimes I think like it could have been so fun and so great, but I don't. I do take some responsibility. I was definitely going through some certain things in my life at the time, but at the same time, I felt like. These are supposed to be my friends, and whenever somebody was down, I tried to pull them up. I was going through like a tough time, with like a lot of anxiety and
It wasn't
like,
'cause
that
you were
kind of
an
stuff,
annoying
depression
drunk?
and stuff.
with a half open eye.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why that happens when you're anxious. But
No, but also if you're feeling that way, being on tour is a horrible place to be.
yeah, so
Because
I
you want to
just-
be home, and it sucks.
And it's
if
just
you have
like-
no plan,
yeah.
you're always there, and you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, and then it was more like, I felt like that, and I'm like, oh, it's all about selling T-shirts and the next this and that, and like whatever. And then I was like, and then there was a point like after that where I was like, and I don't even like the music now. So like, what is there for me here?
Were you feeling a pressure to constantly keep writing songs?
No, I mean it wasn't.
We wrote
even
songs
that.
all the
All the
time.
time?
Yeah, it was. And I'm not gonna say like that. When I felt a certain thing, I definitely did some passive aggressive shit to piss everybody off because I felt like, wow, these guys. It's all about the bottom
Dude,
line.
always
with these
leave the
guys.
toilet seat up.
So I would do like stupid little things, and I did definitely. There was a point where I just kind of was like one of those things like where we just all hated.
Well, listen.
There was a point probably Evan hated me.
In a 5-year stretch,
because I was just like I was like,
it's gonna happen.
You're
Yeah.
with everyone says the same thing. You're with these people too much, where you get no break, and other things were happening to other bands. So we had good success, I guess, for lack of a better word, from Long Island. But then other things are happening to other bands. You're getting a little angry. We signed to Revelation Records, and the fucking A&R guy quit before we even put out a record.
And
I
we
mean,
signed to him because in the Equal Vision, all these other labels wanted to do something, but out of loyalty, like these are the things we did. Like,
Yeah, we stayed with our manager
he
for
believed
too
in
long.
us first, so we're gonna sign with him, even though we had these other opportunities. Like, and then he leaves.
And
So
then he
then
left
you just
us.
kind of start seeing like all these different things.
So how did that affect your relationship with Revelation?
Well, it was. The thing that affected the Revelation thing was that we sold a good amount of records, and we wanted them to put more money in. So the goal was always, at that time, 10,000 records. And I think Saves the Day hit 10,000. They were on EVR, but they were distributed by Rev. And they put money in. And we wanted them to get behind it now, and they didn't.
Yeah, like
Their
that new
model
guy-
was we spend this amount of money no matter what.
And they,
And-
they did these things. They're like, oh well, they would have a meeting and they'd say, oh, you guys do more than any other bands. You guys tour. We
Right, you're
tour.
self-sufficient, you're
You guys,
whatever.
we love it. Like, what can we do? Like, but it's just they really weren't.
But so at
out
the
to
at
do
the time,
anything,
then you have Drive-Thru over here who's saying, "We got money. Look what we did for this band. Look what we did for this." That
In
again,
hindsight,
this
we
is a
should have stayed
business,
with
right?
Rev for one more record, and then
Yeah.
so
right.
So they ended up
Message to
buying it.
former self. The
Yeah,
thing
exactly.
that we did that doomed our career, literally, was we had a deal with Revelation. It was 2 albums, a third option if we sold 20,000 records of our second record. So you put out a second record. you don't hit the mark, and we would be free agents. And instead, we signed to Drive Thru before that record came out. They paid $50,000 to buy us out. Then we had a 5-album deal with no advance, and we got $10,000, I think. And they spent all that money buying us out. They didn't put it into marketing or videos or whatever. So we were now trapped on a label with no money. And if we stayed on Rev, at the time the second record was done, it was a feeding frenzy. At that point, everything hit, and every band from Long Island was getting a call. Every band from Jersey was getting a call, and bands were getting $350,000 deals, $500,000 deals. Like we got fucked.
We played a lot of good tours, but we were always like in a van while everybody was in a bus. It definitely drains the band.
So
it's one of the reasons probably where we started.
That move was the worst.
Not getting along.
That was the beginning of the end, because
wasn't there a van crash too?
There were 2 van crashes. Mm-hmm. The one we were on Rev, and we did crash, and part of it was they didn't give us any money. They weren't helping us fix the van or get gear or whatever. And I think Drive Thru gave us some money, or they were saying,
us,
"Hey, listen, we would do this for you or whatever."
Because they liked the band,
and
they were into the band, and they just did it.
You know. But we were also, Midtown was on Drive Thru, Newfound Glory was on Drive Thru. Like, we wanted to be part of that family, and they were preaching family and everything is this. We help each other. We do this. Vagrant had its own thing, and the artists on there were touring together and helping each other and stuff. And, again, we didn't have good guidance. Our manager didn't really have any foresight, and we didn't have a plan. Where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself? Does this fit the plan? We had a lunch. This is like one of those moments where in my life where I had, like the clear memory with Side One Dummy and Joe Sib, and he says to me, if you're going to sign for 5 records, like you got to get something out of it. And I was like, oh, we're going to get this, that, and the other. And we ended up getting nothing out of it. Like I was like, looking back, like you told me what to do, and I was like, you just didn't pay attention.
Do you feel like now looking back with like all the insight, like is that why you almost like I feel like you have such a knowledge of like music business now? Is that something that just made you kind of like up your game on it?
I feel like you learn when things go wrong.
Yeah.
So when things are going right, you don't know anything. Everybody's high-fiving and you don't pay any attention. And then so many things went wrong, like in a snowball, that you just become, aware of all this stuff. And then you start paying attention, and then unfortunately, this is like a classic stupid music story where we're fucked. Like we're stuck on a label, and they're not giving us any money. Then my best friend leaves, and like these fucking guys are now thinking they're songwriters, and they want to change the sound, or they want to change the look, or whatever. And you're like, this is going out of control. Like, this is terrible.
And for someone like you, I mean, I guess you just looked at it and you're thinking like, well, fuck it, like I'm just gonna I'm
the drummer. Like I become the most replaceable guy there is. Meanwhile, I'm the guy doing all the stuff that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
So
and
lost my voice, lost my friend.
What was the story with that EP before the last record? Did you have anything?
Yeah,
he was on it.
Yeah, that's when things started to change.
That was us. Really that was us testing the Drive Thru waters.
There was a couple of cool things that I liked about it, but I really wasn't into it.
The Movielife.
We were still on Rev at the time.
It was like watered down. I had to water stuff down that I was doing.
Why did you have to though?
Not the label. Actually, Drive Thru was disappointed because they wanted more stuff like this time next year. They wanted more like stuff that sounded like us.
But why didn't that happen from you?
I felt like, first of all, like I said, with the way our sound was, the way the tunings had to change to go lower.
Was it to adjust to his vocal?
Yeah. And then also, like, a lot of the parts I was writing, it was, like, rejected. Like, oh, that's too weird or that's too hard to... And it was just, that's how it got watered down, like, where it was more simplified.
So they wanted more straightforward.
No, but also
you're doing... like a different style.
We're doing an EP to kind of bridge the gap.
I definitely wrote a lot of the stuff, like a huge majority, but like I wasn't ever consider myself a good musician or anything. Like I had a certain style and a flow of how I strum, like Carlos
of
Danger
course,
we play.
Yeah, definitely.
There's the
shout
Alex
out to
sound.
Carlos Danger. But then we had Brandon there, and the reason he was in the band was because technically way better, but he wasn't writing anything. He wrote stuff. Just was not like.
But the EP, and this is why I personally hate EPs. And if you want to talk
But
about that, I
Brandon's
could tell you why
definitely
EPs are the
100 times
worst.
better than these guitar players.
The EP, so you're putting out an EP and you're not spending the time like you're writing a record. So it's basically like, well, what shit's ready? And you're not spending the time to weed it out or figure out these songs are good. When we did the last record, which he wasn't on, we did like 7 or 8 songs on demos and like 2 of them made it to the record. So you don't go through that process. Shit goes on there that's not as good. And then you put out a product that people don't really want to buy because it's an EP and they think, well, what's going to be on the record? Or is this on the record? Or I'll wait till the record comes out. So you have something you're touring with that isn't getting people excited. They're not spending as much money to buy it. And it just wasn't like, none of it was exciting. And then you start saying, well, now we'll do the record, whatever. And, the EP was a waste. Like 2 of those songs should have gone on the record and it should have never been put out.
Well, I feel like that was the case back then. Today, I feel is a little different. I think like an EP.
I would
Yeah, it
disagree.
doesn't- I mean,
What-
I think EPs are still a piece of shit.
well,
And I
Evan's
think
got a
that's the
personal-
model that Bandcamp created, and that's why it never works, and none of those bands sell anything because they're sticking EPs, which are written in haste, and the songs don't spend enough time getting written or played, and they just put up whatever they have to get 3 or 5 songs up, and it's a crappy release.
So we're going to jump to that.
This is Evan
Bandcamp.
talking, by the way.
Yeah, we're going to jump to that Bandcamp stuff in a minute because I know that you had
Just want to say there was a lot of good memories too in the band, and that we had made some really cool music before that. I want it to sound like
except
it's
for
all
that
negative.
Malamo thing.
Aside from him
that
having a
was-
boner
that's all,
all the
that's all
time, it's
Evan,
no
that's
big
all
deal.
Evan.
Shout out to Mike
We
Malamo.
love him.
Look,
He's like a guy like like the friend that you love so much. It's,
I
if
love
he was here,
Malamo.
he'd be shitting on
Love
Evan
the
right now.
boner.
Yeah.
Boner's great.
Yeah.
The priest collar's great. No, but we we put something together out of nothing. Like we had 0 and we managed to put money into something, then we broke even, then we made money. Like we were making money, and you're
guys-
touring, we're in Europe, we're we have fans, we're in magazines. Like
Yes.
we did all right. You know,
you guys
it's
are-
fine.
We
You
toured
gotta-
on a fucking double-decker bus with Thursday. It was fucking awesome.
It was awesome.
We headlined our first show in London. It was like fucking 1,000 people.
At the Mean Fiddler. It was
Nuts, because
awesome.
the magazine there, the press means a lot.
That was
Like,
the best tour.
we had a good magazine. We had
It was
good
fun.
like press.
What
And
tour was
that
the
was
best tour?
exciting. So I'm trying to
Us
talk
on
about
Thursday
some
when we
fun
went to
things
England.
that happened. That were awesome
It was the
stuff.
first time both of us went to England, and it was great.
Did you visit your family in England?
Actually, I didn't on that trip. I'd been to England. I've probably been to England maybe 10 times in my life. I don't know, but
Yeah.
we went together when we were 18.
Yes,
Right?
me and Alex went to England.
Mac Adventures. Evan made a whole journal about it. It was
We
pretty
were in the
awesome.
13th grade.
We wrote a song about this girl. Evan had a crush on one of his dad's business partner's daughters.
Her
She
name
was
was
very
Emma.
cute. And we wrote a song, Riding the Tube. The Tube is the
Highgate.
going to meet you and your friends. The devilish grin strikes again. Awesome. She was
Cut.
very cute.
I hope she's
we,
listening.
Cut.
we went to some clubs. We had some fun. It was really cool.
When we were
Really
in
cool.
England, we went to England together after high school. It was like a graduation present, and
Let's
We
just
do that,
let's
whatever.
just finish up our movie
Sure.
life talk here.
Just look me in the eyes when you hold that cord.
nice.
So, yeah,
Okay.
we did a cool. What did we do?
You guys had a great footprint, like I said in the beginning.
we did an EP, 7-inch on Initial. That was a lot of fun. Initial Records. That was
You guys did, like, looking back, like it's something that you look back on. You guys are part of, like I said, Taking Back Sunday, Movie Life, Glassjaw, Brand New. Those are 4 of like the bands that I feel like,
Big 4.
yeah, I feel like they reached.
I think one might get booted out of the top 4 after. there's a little-
Too soon. Too
Why? What did he
soon.
do? He did something?
Oh, I don't know. I thought I heard something. I don't
I have
know.
no idea. But so you guys are like the Anthrax.
I'll
right?
take it.
Yeah.
All right.
We loved Anthrax back when we were kids. I mean,
Anthrax is my favorite out of the 4, to be honest with you.
I was
Today.
in-
Today, yeah, that can change.
Belladonna
Yeah.
Anthrax, right?
Of course.
Yeah,
But I still like
Belladonna.
John Bush Anthrax.
I don't like that
Sounds
blue
I
white
do
shit.
not.
I don't like it either.
As I myself do not.
Shout out to Danter.
Yeah, it's
I
terrible.
Now
don't mind the
4-4-2.
Bush stuff, but it's
Someday,
just
would
not
you
as
like
good.
to own a watch that Danny Spitz made
Of course.
Absolutely.
with much precision?
As long as it's got the hair that he has.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like you said, there was a lot of good memories, and looking back at it, listen, you guys did your 6 years, I think was the time stretch, and then
He left me.
he left you. So how did the 2011 reunion come about? Like, what'd you guys do?
It's terrible.
Wasn't it like Bamboozle?
How's
Yeah.
it? Sounds pretty awesome though. I mean, as far as like you got the 2 sold out shows at Irving Plaza. That's fucking
he's
awesome.
talking about 2011.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know
was-
when. I don't even know the
We'll get
years.
to
I'm
that.
terrible with years.
They didn't tell you about that one.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't.
He was
You know,
told.
not for nothing. I don't have really.
I think Joe
the only
Rubino
time I
filled
had
in.
real interest was when
Here's what happened.
Evan had
though.
an idea to do a benefit
Yeah.
for Sandy, and that's the only time I really was
Okay.
kind of
This
like,
is
yeah,
what
I'll
I'll
do it.
this is what I'll say about all that. So, you have a band, you have a podcast, you have whatever you have, and you take it from nothing to something, and you're a part of it, right? And then when it goes bad and you break up, so skipping ahead to we're broken up now, you know, you're fucking pissed and you're angry and you're mad, and at the time you're real mad because other bands are having success or other people having success. You don't feel they deserve it. The industry fucking sucks. There's all this shit. It makes you very angry. And now, where we are today, you know, you by the luck of the draw, you have an opportunity to do it again, to have a good moment on stage, to have a good time playing, to reconnect with certain people, and we're all supposed to benefit from that. Like, all of us did the work to get to that point. And where it is now is somebody took it away and on the inside, you know, took it away from everyone else that was a part of it, and now only they get to participate. And that's the suckiest part, because we should all be enjoying ourselves. We should all be playing from time to time. We should all be making a little bit of money or whatever. And it just became like a disastrous, it became like even more of a cliche than us signing to drive-through and signing away our life. That doing a reunion and then somebody thinking, I'm going to do this band full time, and getting sued by two of the guys in the band, and you know, it's a disaster.
So it's safe to say that you guys are both happy, just kind of doing your own thing, and like you're not, you know, you're letting your, I guess, legacy in the band to kind of speak
Yeah, I
for
mean,
itself,
the way
like-
I think of it is like I feel like it's not even. I don't know. I have the time I was in it. I'm very grateful to have all those experiences. I'm grateful for the time I felt close to everybody. You know, we're all different people. It sounds like very, you know, bitter, but I mean, the way everything worked out for me, I'm like, I'm loving life now more than ever. You know.
I mean,
but like,
I
I
did
just-
introduce you to your wife.
Yes, my beautiful baby, and just like I feel like everything has come together
You
so
took
well.
him from me.
But one thing I'm definitely bitter about, I moved out east to farmland, and then you move away,
I did.
fucker.
Closer to me.
I did.
No, but like really, it was a great time. You know, what? Like when I was telling Evan like recently, like you know, like sometimes you know, I think back, I try to think of like the happier stuff. Like there definitely it was a dark period for me when I left. And I was definitely a basket case for a little while, but it really wasn't to do with the band. It was just generally speaking.
Yeah.
But you know, like you know, I remember like Phil and I used to consider him a really good friend, the bass player, and you know that's a little sad that we were never friends again after that. Stuff like that. He's a great guy, but you know, I'm sure like for whatever reason, I definitely wasn't the easiest guy in the world at that point because I felt a lot of things. Maybe it was magnified that I resented about certain things, and you know,
Yeah.
but it's you know to have that opportunity to play those great shows, to be able to write music with like cool people, to be a part of that scene. Like it's still, like I still feel a part of this community, like a certain community, like all these people. Like I wouldn't know like most of you guys, you know what I mean, just because of it.
I got to sub in for SSU. That's it.
Yeah.
So did I, dude.
There you go.
And you know, it's like I feel like even though I played in a whole bunch of bands and I play until it's not fun anymore, and not with Carlos Danger, but that's just because of time and stuff.
We'll
But I
make
like
our
being a
follow-up
part. It's like
EP
it's
soon.
cool. Like I can live vicariously. You're playing shows. Like you're doing a reunion for Sky Came Falling. Like I know all these other great musicians. They're doing little things. They're playing shows, big, little, whatever. And I just like that I have like a little tiny piece of that.
Music.
You know, it's very like I feel like very grateful for that.
Music brought us all together. Like it helped us like move past our zip code,
Yeah,
like beyond.
yeah,
you know,
way
like,
beyond.
People,
Yeah, I mean, it connected us to Europe and you know.
yeah, that stuff's
So
great.
many
Canada.
cool things, you know, and it's just
Yeah, but I'm angry because we could all be celebrating it now. We could all be participating. When Alex left the band, those guys since that point in time have viewed him as quitting. Like, you left us, whatever. Therefore, you never get to
So,
come back. You
like
never
a-
get to
like a
enjoy it.
punishment.
I mean, there was
Yeah,
a
it's
point
punishment.
like where I was
And-
nostalgic about in a happy way. Like I started the label, the Saint Elsewhere
Yes.
thing, and I was kind of into it. But then I got so busy with school and all this other shit but it was fun. I was trying to just remember the happier stuff. But it's like it's you know what I mean, like, you know, I wish everybody the best, like, you know what I mean. I'm not sitting here like I'm not thinking about people like wishing.
See, that's a
failure
good
on
attitude.
people.
That's a man who's had a lot of time away, and I was in it
But
in
I
2015,
haven't-
and I don't wish anyone the best.
You know, I mean, like, whatever. You know, like I feel like like my everything turned out great for me. I feel like whatever happened happened.
Yeah.
I went through like a period, and I really like I worked hard. I got out of it. I'm doing well. I'm, you know, I have a great family.
Well
you know,
adjusted. He's not an influencer anymore.
and I just like, you know, I just want to appreciate the good things, and I really like appreciate things before that happened. And you know, and again, I'm gonna say I wasn't the easiest person in the world at that time. I wasn't some terrible person.
Yeah, but
or anything,
everybody's
but
going through
I
different
definitely
shit.
was like, you know,
Are you on ecstasy right now?
He should.
no.
He loves it. He
I'm
loves
looking
everyone.
I'm looking into your dreamy eyes.
His
and it's
his
fucking
eyes
turning
are
me on.
fully open. But so in 2011, it was the same kind of scenario. They wanted to do a reunion. Let's go back in time. Vin had already played Bamboozle with another band. It was
Set
a
your
movie-
goals, right?
Yeah, it was
Oh.
Movielife. So he took money that nobody else got to participate in. If that's, you know, what you're doing it for, and at the time it was, you know, everyone's still angry. So you're getting paid $10,000 or whatever, and you're keeping it. It's bullshit. So now 2011 comes around, and we'll do another reunion, and we did Bamboozle. And let's go back. I say, is Alex going to be in it? They say no. I talk to Alex. You know, I get the blessing, so I do it. Because it was clear to me then, if I don't do it, they'll do it without me. So I did it. The Bamboozle show was good. It was, you know, fine. And then we got into, you know, what else are we going to do? And it just became a whole bickering thing because I think Vin wanted us to use a manager, and Brandon was doing something, and I'm like, I don't, you know, I've been doing management now for years since this. I don't need any help. I'll do this in my sleep. Like, I'll just do it. And nobody trusts that I know how to do it, and nobody, you know, it's always like, well, people don't like Evan or Evan.
Just butting in real quick. Didn't you manage Avenged Sevenfold one day, like one of the biggest bands like ever?
Yeah.
Or
Well, I
still
wasn't. There was two
Well,
people
you
in the
were
office, and I was number 2. So
No,
Yeah.
number two.
I was either the lowest man on the totem pole or the second highest. So
I think I'm gonna
however
go,
you look at it.
I think I'm gonna go see one of the bands that you used to manage tomorrow. Hot Water Music.
We did work with them for a brief period of
I
time.
will be seeing them.
But
tomorrow.
Hot Water Music is a band who, to me, you know, does it right. They don't. We'll get to that. I mean, there's a way to do this thing, and I feel the Movielife's doing it wrong, and Hot Water did it right, and there's other bands that did it right. But in 2011, it became before anything happened, a lot of bickering about what to do next or whatever, and we just said, fuck it. We'll do one more show. We'll do one more farewell, and it was horrible because we had a show. It was sold out. We played whatever was Best Buy Theater or whatever. At the time it was Nokia, whatever. And Brandon was having anxiety. And Vinny's manager gave him something to take the edge off, whether it was a fucking Xanax or a Klonopin or whatever. I don't know. And he had a meltdown. I mean, he couldn't even play. So I had my wife-to-be at the show. I had my daughter at the show. I had my family there. And the guy... It was like watching like Jim Morrison on acid. I mean, he couldn't play a note.
Wow.
That was going to be at the time our last show ever. I mean, it was
Allegedly.
humiliating. And it was a packed house. Some people say, you know, whatever. Oh, I didn't see anything. It was great or this, that. And I'm like, it was a nightmare. You weren't comfortable playing all his parts. You were freaking out about. I had to keep time, literally the whole show. Danny had to do extra things, and it just was awful. Like, it wasn't the feel good last show, whatever. It was all the opposite.
That
Well,
sucks.
typical for the Movielife. Here's what it was supposed to be. Here's what it ended up being. So that was horrible. And then after that, it was back to fuck you. We're not talking. We're not friends or whatever. So that was reunion number 1, without Alex.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think we could close up that section of it. You know.
Oh yeah, but just to finish it. What Alex was talking about was then there was Hurricane Sandy, right? And then I said, look, this was terrible. This was a disaster. Brandon was very apologetic afterwards, kept saying, I'll make it up to you guys. I'll make it up to you guys. So my wife has family in Rockaway. She grew up in Rockaway. There was, everyone was affected. There was all kinds of shit, New York, Jersey, whatever. And I said, and, we were donating time. We were, buying shit and donating it. We were helping her aunt dig her house out and stuff. I said, you know what? We could do a show again and do it right and try to get Midtown involved or somebody else from Jersey that was affected or whatever. And let's do more good. Let's use the platform for good. And I put it out there. I included Alex, who, again, was not invited to any of this stuff, and he was the only one that said he would do it.
Oh.
And nobody else wanted to even sniff the idea of playing for charity,
Yeah.
of not taking a penny, of doing it except for him, the guy who was shut out, basically, of the money-making opportunity. So what does that tell you?
That's him, man. That's why I love that guy. I love
Influencer.
Alex. He's a fucking...
Making me blush.
He's the best. I'm reading some shit just like yesterday, like, because I was like doing some like research for today. And like, I guess I read that
What kind of research? Wikipedia?
Long Island Press thing. Nah, just like articles. Long Island Press, just in case. I mean, I didn't use any of it. And
You didn't read anything about ninjas, so I'm sorry.
This guy mentions our band, like my band. I'm just like, cocksucker. I'm like, amazing. No matter what. He's like, yeah, playing dead. He's like, oh, and this little band called Iron Chic. I'm just like, oh, yeah. I'm like, you have the non-existent and the very existent. But anyway, we got to have you back for a part 2 because you have a second part to your story that I wanted to get into.
Many layers.
But now we
pile of shit has a lot of layers.
We want to do our top 5.
You know what it feels like? It feels like watching Goodfellas, where like shit gets going and things get rolling, and there's an excitement, and then the end you're just like all shitty and sad and demented, and like that's where we are. Like after you took that piss, it went real downhill, and now it's like fuck
and
you.
We were rapping.
And life sucks, and there's no more Vince Neil.
Well, you know what?
And there's no
For
more
part
glam
2,
rock.
when you talk to Evan about his other life, his other career, we can play little snippets of all the bands we were in.
Yeah.
Starting when we were like
you could be a little bit
15,
more prepared than your
and
one
we could
interview
play
that you
some
read.
music for the first time on your show, a little music.
Right.
Samplings of music. And then
Well,
we
I
can talk
have it
about
all in Dropbox. I could really throw them all
Drop
in.
D, Dropbox.
But then we can go over.
I was going to talk over it, though.
Yeah, but like, well, I'm going to play fucking songs that from...
Evan's going to...
Correct.
That's insane. Why would I do that?
I don't know. It's, shot
So
in
I
the
can
dark.
talk over it.
No, but if you really do want, I could just tell me what songs to include, because Johnny sent me the Dropbox.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what... Yeah. I mean,
He
it would
sent
be
me-
cool to, like, it's like when I can't believe he has a lot of
Dr.
that shit.
Pepper number 2.
There's a
Shout
few
out.
things that got lost in the, I guess, over the years.
I'll
but
show you.
He got some all these different bands we played. So much cool shit. My friend.
So
Johnny,
like
he,
just for the
insane.
for
He saves
Anthony's
everything.
sake, me and Alex, yeah, we was always like the same band, but it's a different member than a different name. So it was the Point Blank, it was the Gonads, it was the Rosenbergs, it was the Sam Pebbles. We did a little this, a little that. We were always sort of on the door trying to get into the scene. We were like inside at one point, like persona non grata. The singer of our band said some things about either Artie Shepherd or Artie Philly or something, and we were kind of
It
blacklisted.
was a song he wrote. It was a song.
And
Oh, really?
whatever.
And we didn't even know anything about it.
we
And then all of a sudden,
didn't
like,
even
they're like,
know
oh, you guys can't
this
play
world
'cause,
existed at the time. We were, in high school or whatever. And
It was a good song. I just didn't know it was about like these particular. It was a really good song.
I'm going to see
Cool
Artie on
song.
Monday, so
Which
I might
Artie?
bring it up.
Shepherd?
No, Shepherd, yeah.
It was about Artie Philly.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even know him or anything or about him
Yeah.
at that time. So
And then it was all normal once we were in the movie life. But like that was we wrote a million songs in that band, and some of them exist and some of them don't or whatever. So if your audience cares,
No, yeah, whatever you want to do, like, just let me know so we could do that in post. So.
what about my post movie life career? All those awesome bands I was in. You could
Well, I
do-
mean, I
you could
think
do like
into
5
Wiretap.
shows. You guys,
my
I'm inviting
post career
myself
was
to do, like,
sitting at a
5
desk.
shows.
Thank you.
No, this is fun. It's a good excuse to hang out. I love I love being with my baby.
Alex is in love.
But
He's in
if
love.
I have an excuse to hang out, like
Yeah,
it's
I
like
was-
that's why I play music too.
If there's an
sometimes,
excuse to
like that,
hang
you know?
out, as long as I'm talking about myself for an hour, no problem.
I was just trying.
Yeah.
I was trying to keep it to like 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Mhm.
So we're definitely at the 1.5.
I like the
Really?
the whole thing how you guys just talk about
People gonna
music
run off
and
the
it doesn't
fucking
even have to be
road.
about me. I like to whatever.
So,
But-
yeah, I wanted to squeeze in like the top 5, which Evan doesn't want to do. But you wanted to tell me.
lot of
Shirley
hate-
only
a lot
looks
of-
out for one guy.
A lot of
Shirley.
hate coming from this to the left of me.
I'm very curious. Like we
Yeah.
we like to close off the show with like a top 5, just because we're like geeks and we like talking.
I
about
love
shit
listening
like
to
this.
that. I love all.
Well,
I
Evan
love that
doesn't like
aspect.
it apparently.
Well,
Tell me why.
He doesn't like anything.
Tell me why you hate lists.
I hate lists.
Why you refuse to make one?
That's right. I was given homework, and I said, hell no. I just think that.
Yeah, he's
Look,
taking
I'll tell you
me.
the- I think lists are.
How's it doing again?
Listen, I don't want to insult what
Hello?
you're doing because you're nice enough to have me here, but the way I think and the reason why I do things, which most of the time honestly don't end up successful, is because I always think of something else, or I have to take something in another way, and I think that lists are kind of passé because, and I learned this from doing the site and stuff, people don't care anymore. Everything is already presented in a list. Everything, I've chosen these things for you to listen to. I've chosen these things based on your search. You might like this. So we have history. We like things because we came from a different time. But pretty soon, nobody's going to care because they're not going to have an opinion. They didn't make the choices to begin with. They were given a list. If they want to know what their favorite shit is, they'll go look at what does Spotify say my favorite shit is, or what does Netflix say it is. It'll all be based on data.
Here's
So I'm saying, hold on.
I have discovered quite. a
I'm
few
saying
things.
get in the now. The lists are old. What's the next thing? For example. Yes.
This is.
Listen.
I love the list, man.
I don't know if I could
think
take
it's fun
that
discussion
coming
guess.
from a guy who has 4 gigs of data. All right? Here's what I'm going to say.
Well, I'm not living in the now on the phone side, but I'm
yeah.
living in the now on the list side.
Well,
I'm cutting edge with lists.
the people that listen to the show, like Alex, do you enjoy the list?
I
because
do. I love the whole thing. I like how you go from you go down and you kind of talk about.
He's in
it.
love. You heard
I know,
the
just
love.
like it's like I feel like I'm in the room.
Well,
with
Evan
you
just
having
brought
a
us
It's fun to
down.
discuss it,
Evan
yeah.
just
Yeah,
brought
and
us down
sometimes I
with
agree, and sometimes I'm
I'm
like,
just
oh, that's
saying,
so cool. And then
the end of the movie. Life
sometimes
just
you
brought
guys
us
talk
down. We
about
need to
something,
come
and I'm
back
like,
up.
oh, let me check this out. It sounds cool that I
Debbie
didn't know
Downer.
about, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I just really I'm into the whole
But
format
this is
of how
but
you
this
guys
is the
do
way I
this
think,
Cool,
show.
thank
and
you.
this is why I do stuff, and most of the time it doesn't work out. So there you
Okay.
go.
But yeah, so feel free to interject because we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite soundtracks.
Shout out to the chicken parm I had for dinner, by the way. It's killing me. Killing me.
Shout out to your car for driving so nice.
Cushy seats.
Yeah.
Bucket seats.
So
So again, I don't want to look.
no, you're.
I don't want to, not participate, but I'm just saying,
We're going to go to you, and
all
we're,
roads lead to no list.
we're gonna do a part 5.
Do Broadway soundtracks.
Part 5.
Joseph.
Sure.
We're gonna do
Jerome Robbins.
We're gonna do a part 2 because I feel like you guys have more to talk about. But right now we covered the movie.
What if this is the lowest rated of your shows?
It just might be.
Then there won't be a part.
Yeah, it won't be a part 2.
All right.
If the first,
Unless drive-through wants it.
Yeah.
You might still be in contract. So
Hey-o.
get your back.
We got to check after Sweeps
7-year
comes
rule.
in.
yeah, exactly.
Sweeps.
So we're
Sweep.
we're gonna
Yeah.
talk
I'll go
about
topless.
top 5 favorite movie soundtracks, not scores, and I don't know. I feel
Not a
like-
score, so Terminator's out.
I kind of was
Right.
like not talking about the score, but just like how the overall music was that added, like how the whole movie, how it influenced the movie. In my
Why don't you
eyes,
talk
I
into
guess.
that shit till we get?
Someone didn't do
I
their
felt like I
homework.
was a lot louder.
We're doing
Someone
scores
didn't
on
do
part
it.
2 of your episode.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, God.
soundtracks,
Well, I'm doing.
part
It's
1.
really soundtracks, but it's just like how they go together.
We'll
with
be the
everything.
judge of that.
Wait,
With the
so
movie
you don't
and
want to
score,
talk at
yeah.
all? Am I totally wrong? I mean, do you think that that
Evan's
that,
like the Woody Allen of your
Of
kind of
lists?
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
I'm just the nebbishy pain in the ass. Like, is that where we're headed? And if we're not headed there, should we? Because you need a hook, right? You do your show. At some point, you got to figure out what's you, right? Like, what's your definitive you? Like, you know what this is. What are you? Is it the list?
No.
Is it a round robin of lists?
Yeah, no. It's a round robin. So basically, but
But it should be something else.
You're talking about the show overall.
Yeah.
Show
The hook.
The hook is just basically we have on people that we're all friends with that have interesting lives, whether they make movies, whether they make retro movie posters, whether they play in bands, stuff like that. Like, so we have people on that I feel like have done stuff that are fun to talk about. Our show is about movies and music and like pop culture. So that's the conversation. We.
Things that we always be talking about.
Here's what I'll
anyway.
do. Part 2, I'll come in with a list of alternatives to the list.
Okay, sure. definitely.
I mean, I dig it. I listen to like 3 podcasts.
You see
listen
how
to
Alex
NPR.
used to be an influencer? He's no longer an influencer.
No longer. No, not in Evan's eyes. So I listen to NPR. I listen to the Pre-Parara podcast, and this is like my entertainment one. Like, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I look forward to like, look
Nice.
forward to it. I
This-
liked what you guys are doing.
This is why he always gets a mention. you
Yeah,
know?
he's proud to
I
drive
just
you
actually
home.
really.
I get
make-
no
I
mention.
drive a lot. I live out east, and I love it.
That
But
ain't
I
out
work.
east, man.
I work in
You
Nassau
don't know
County.
out east.
Yeah, you
Well,
don't
I
know.
mean-
out
You don't
east.
know it,
Dude,
son.
Lindenhurst used to be out east to me.
I think
Like,
you gotta
and
go-
now I can't believe like I
Shit,
live
that was the
fucking-
fucking big city to me, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, we're going to Lindenhurst
That's why I put up
today.
that thing
Oh,
about the big
shit.
city is like fucking. It's like to me now my big city is Riverhead.
You guys
Yeah.
like
That's why
Game
that
of,
thing
you guys
was-
like
That's a
Game of
metropolis.
your
Thrones?
story about going to the big city.
like
I
Game of
cracked
Thrones?
me
That's
up.
the metropolis, the,
mean, that was
the
just-
golden jewel of the East End.
He
Next
likes
to
Riverhead.
the next
You-
to
you
next
like
to
Game
the
of
Chuck
Thrones?
Billy,
Yeah, love
So
it.
you know when they're talking, and the guy says, "I've never been this far south before." I said, "Where you go?"
Yeah.
To what's it called?
Ah,
Where the fuck do they live?
I can't even remember all the names. I just love the show.
What in Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
The King's
El
Landing.
Segundo?
King's Landing?
No, in the north.
Winterfell.
Oh,
Winterfell.
Yeah.
So I've been to Winterfell. Says that's the north. So that's what you're talking about. You're like, I've been to Lindenhurst. We're like, that's the south, right?
Right.
So whatever.
I think 10 people just shut
Fucking
the show
edit
off.
that shit.
Okay, Alex, you're our guest.
list.
Give us your number 5 for top 5 movie soundtracks, so Evan could say something funny.
All right. Well, I already did the my honorable mention of Down the Deep River, the Ockerville River kind
Johnny,
of soundtrack.
Johnny
It's a-
North.
Yes. Were you at the screening with me?
No, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. Dave Oliger and Jamie Siegel went with me. So this is just an honorable mention because my friend was a part of it. He filmed it. Directed by Will Sheff of Ockerville River. Very cool. They use Ockerville River songs obviously, and it's like this cool companion piece movie. So I'm shouting out Down the Deep River. But my number 5 is Less Than Zero soundtrack.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good one.
Nice.
I thought
forgot
that it
one.
really like.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
First of all, I just like all
Hazy
the
Shade of
songs.
Winter, right?
It even has that Glenn
Glenn
Danzig and the
Danzig
Power
and the
Fury.
Power Fury Orchestra.
And not, it's not
This
really
ballad.
because Glenn Danzig was on it, because I'm a big fan of the Misfits and Danzig. But
Right.
Is it because Jamie Gertz got
can
fucked in a
like
hallway?
I was like
She was so hot.
no, but like he
Alex
can
liked the
write
Bangles.
like if he didn't have to be metal. Like he's a talented guy.
That
song
song
is
he wrote for Johnny
phenomenal.
Cash,
Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, and
Yeah.
so just the whole thing, even the Bangles remake of the song,
Plus
just
the
amazing.
Poison
Slayer and the God of Davida.
What was that?
Yeah,
one?
that everything, and it
I
just
forget.
went. The
They did
soundtrack
that- they
was
did Rock
great.
and
It
Roll
was
All
great. I
Night.
was using the
Yeah, oh,
movie,
okay.
just everything about
Yeah,
it.
Remember
agreed.
that one?
Agreed.
Mr. Rocket? Poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Mr.
really-
Rocket.
I
Check.
love
That's
that
the
movie.
the Kiss cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in that. That's in there too.
That's a really good movie too. Like I just
Yeah,
made
it's
my
a great movie
girlfriend.
too.
My
Great,
girlfriend's
great soundtrack.
8 years younger than me, so I made her watch it recently, and she was just like, "He's not gonna die, is he?" And I was like, "Nah, he's not gonna die." She was not happy.
I like doing that and Bright Lights Big City.
Oh, that's
back
a good
to back.
one. You know
Yeah.
why? Because I was a big drug addict back. No, actually not back then, but like I was like
Pre drug addict.
pre-drug addict, and I watched Michael J. Fox, and I was like, I want to do cocaine.
Oof.
So,
Isn't
and
that
I was
crazy?
like, I was like 10. Yeah, I just looked at it. And I was like, I want to know.
You didn't want to watch
Yeah.
Family Ties and be a successful business person.
No,
You like the cocaine part.
Alex P. Keaton.
Alex
Yes.
is key. You know what? Alex, I'm all about the Alex.
Alex
There
P.
you
Keaton.
go.
Yeah.
Parker, what do you have?
Do you
for
have a
number
middle
five?
name?
Yeah.
Ali Baba.
Peter?
Mansoor.
Oh, Mansoor, right. Sorry.
Oh, really?
That's awesome. That's a
Alex
good
P.
middle name.
Amiruddin.
Number 5, I did Dazed and Confused, actually. I
Oh,
want
that's
a little
good one.
Yeah.
too.
That's good.
So we got
Yeah,
some, we got some
definitely.
Foghat.
I don't like that movie at all.
No?
What?
No.
I love that movie.
That reminds me senior year of high
I
school.
have
that
great
movie.
memories. I've been.
What?
That's
I'm
you.
color
Never met
commentary.
anybody.
You're the only person.
Hate that movie.
You're
A
the
lot of
only-
hate in this room.
Hate it.
Do you hate the Beastie Boys too?
No, that's me. That's me.
No. Because I don't know. When that movie came out, everyone at college was watching it, and they were all getting stoned and watching it, and it was really stupid. And we liked the Stoned Age, and for some reason,
Oh
the
my
Stoned Age was
God.
like the
Get
counter,
you
the
some.
alternative to.
I
It
just
was like
watched that for the first
it was like for
time.
I
fans
used to
of
watch
Dazed and
that
Confused.
religiously.
You like this movie, and I
Blue
was like,
Oyster Cult.
this movie's better
So
than that
good.
movie.
Yeah.
And
That
most
was
of the
so-
actors in there were terrible, and
They
I
were
didn't like
such
any
herb
of them.
metalheads.
How do you like that?
I'll tell you this: the way you felt about that is the way I felt
List.
about Half Baked, and because I was by that time I was like, I don't smoke. I don't.
That
do
movie's good for
anything.
25 minutes.
then I actually
It's a good
watched it, and I'm like, this is the best movie ever.
So funny.
Remember we met Dave Chappelle and I yelled, "Sir
Yes.
Smokes a lot" in the back of his head, and he turned around and looked at me like I was the biggest dick in the
Yeah.
world. It was right
We
when
met
he was
him in
going to film
DC.
his HBO special, and like he was known, but he wasn't like the superstar. And I like usually when we met celebrities, I never really, you know, I not that I didn't care, but I was never like whatever. For some
Gonna
reason,
roll
we
up
used to
on him.
always watch
Starstruck.
that in the van,
Right.
and I was like, "Oh my God, Sir Smokes a lot," and he looked at me like I was such an asshole.
He
So
had sex
embarrassing.
with my
Oh no,
mama.
Evan yelled, "Oh my God!" like right in the back of his head.
Yeah.
He turned around and then I said that, and he was like, "Oh."
He's just like,
He looked like me like
Right.
such a dick. He's like, "Yo, I'm filming my special."
I gotta go.
Or
He's
whatever.
like, I gotta
yeah,
go.
but
I'm gonna
it's kinda-
quit fucking.
But
I'm
Show
gonna go into
business.
Africa.
That was
and
my
I'll
life.
quit
I
my
felt like
business.
such an
I
Thanks
asshole.
to
hated
you.
the
Totally.
gonads.
All right, so number 5 for me is one of my favorite movies
in
of
DC.
all time, and one of the best soundtracks, obviously, Grosse Point Blank.
No.
Number 5 had the Violent Femmes.
Yeah,
The
that's a good
Clash,
one.
Cities and Dust. Who's in the Banshees.
Motorhead too. It had Ace of Spades during like the convenience store,
Oh,
like
yeah,
shit, like
yeah.
fucking fantastic. Let me. Does he hate Grosse Point Blank too?
I don't know.
No, that's it. Just do your list.
Okay. No, you can say whatever you want since you're not participating because you don't believe in. This is like Mr. Pink. Like we tell him to kick in $1, and he tells me why he doesn't
Mr. Pussy. I'm definitely like Mr. Pussy, without a doubt.
kick in $1, everybody.
What do you mean you don't tip?
Yeah. I don't believe in it.
I buy the breakfast, kicking $1.
Number 5, Langan.
Number 5, I got Superfly by Curtis Mayfield.
Nice.
Pusher Man, Freddy's Dead, the title track Superfly. I didn't get into it till post Pulse Boutique, Eggman, and all that shit.
Yeah.
And the samples.
Yeah,
and
the
going
samples.
back, and
That's a
then
lot
I was
of
like,
how you get
wow.
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, that
Shout out
of
to
all
the Dust
those
Brothers.
great
Yeah, totally. That was before they had to like really pay for
exploitation
all that
flicks.
shit.
You know, The Shaft and Trouble Man that Marvin Gaye did. But Superfly was the best.
Fantastic.
Right? Nice.
Number 4, Alex.
Did you own any of these soundtracks?
Yeah,
Like
most of them are up there.
you own everything.
Yeah, he's got the collection.
I got some stuff
We came
up
to
there.
Horror
You know
Hang over here,
you know
and
how
then
much
you were like,
shit
you were like,
I
I got it,
fucking
I got it.
own?
Like,
I
hey,
own so
section.
much.
This is pretty much me rebuying my fucking childhood that I threw out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I finally got to. I experienced the basement.
No.
Yeah.
Was
It's
nice.
that like 2 weeks
Thank
ago?
you.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It was just amazing. Now,
Horror
it's,
Hangs.
but I could appreciate more now because there's like not 1,000 people down here,
Right.
and I can really like.
There's still
see
pizza
everything.
left over
Take
upstairs
it.
though if you're hungry. So let me know.
There's a lot of boxes.
You guys give like a bag for guests, like a
No.
take-home bag?
No.
Well,
I'm not getting
good.
like a thing of perfume or anything.
Oh,
Okay,
Maybe
you're gonna,
some, like a
gift
Dracar
basket.
to go. Maybe.
I'm gonna make a list of improvements.
nice. This guy will whip your show into shape in no
Nice.
time.
I'll take your audience from 5 to
we need
6.
we need to monetize. We need to monetize. Number 4, Alex.
You know, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I've been watching this movie a lot lately with my baby. Moana, great soundtrack. Great soundtrack.
Malama?
Moana.
the
The
It's
guy
the greatest
that,
hits.
Johnson,
the
The
guy that
Rock.
wrote Hamilton. What's his name? Lin-Manuel.
Oh, yeah.
It's
He
an
wrote the
animated
songs.
movie.
Yeah, it's a
Malama.
great.
Yeah.
First of all, it's the best kids film
Malama
I've
is a
seen,
great
but-
movie.
It's about a big boner.
So if you have
Yeah.
a kid,
I saw
Moana
it.
soundtrack
I
is
saw it with
phenomenal.
my kid.
Yeah,
I don't remember
and
the
she like
songs
she's
too
only
much.
she's not even 2, but this is like the first
Right.
thing that she really
If
likes. She wants to
Malamo
watch
asked
it all
you
the
to
time.
climb
And
the
it's such a
highest
great-
mountain.
I enjoy watching it because
Would you-
the
would you
soundtrack's
try?
great. Anyway, move on. I don't want to talk about it too much. you
Oh
guys.
my God! All right.
Shout out to
number-
Malamo.
I'm sorry, I had to do Moana.
Malamo's dad, golf
Shout out to
champion
Everly
of
Winter,
the
my baby, my
anti-Semitic
love.
golf course in Rockville Center.
Nice. Shout out
Well
to
done.
the anti-Semites in Rockville.
Thank you.
Bastards.
Number 4, Parker.
Number 4 was the movie that I was talking about earlier. I was watching The Crow, which
Yeah.
I mean, The Cure, Nine Inch Nails, Helmet, Rage Against the Machine, Pantera, it goes on and on.
Rollins cover.
Slamming fucking
Ghost
soundtrack.
Rider.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really banging
Yeah.
songs on
That's
there.
a great Cure song.
Yeah.
One of their best, actually. I love that song.
Yeah.
Yep. One of my favorite Helmet songs, fucking Milk Toast.
Nine Inch Nails covered the Joy Division song in there,
Yeah.
right?
I think there's
Dead
2 Nine Inch
Souls.
Nails songs on that.
Oh, we said
actually.
The Crow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
good. It just like
That was
it's
a
like the
big
movie. Just,
seller when it came
moved
out. Oh, yeah.
the movie.
Sure.
Like that's
Yeah.
what I think a good soundtrack is. It just it becomes the movie, part of the movie. It's not; those aren't just songs in the movie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you can tell
that
when it's something
created
just
such a
slapped
feel
together
for the
just
movie.
to
Just
sell
like
or part of
that's
the
kind
film.
of what I was thinking. Like when I made my list, like not just like my favorite songs, but like what kind of like
it
helped define the movie and really push the movie forward.
Yep.
We asked on Facebook like everyone's favorite soundtrack, and I think the Crow soundtrack was mentioned the most out of like those 200
I mean, when I saw that in the theater, it just
200?
You know,
It was
you
a lot of
you
comments.
feel
Nice.
it.
Yeah,
Like,
that
you know,
thread
it's
was
so-
huge. Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
They like lists.
I told Evan, I'm like, this is how the audience engages. They do their own list. We do they do
This
the
is
list
why
on
I'm
the show.
mostly
It's fun.
unpopular.
He's got
Yeah.
the polls. I love it. I
Yeah.
love all that shit.
We're gonna
So
get
it's
an
fun.
email that he wants to manage us. Can't wait.
Nice.
Telling you.
So my number 4 is a guy who like makes movies, and he puts in songs that I didn't know I liked until he puts them in the movie.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, it's
Right
crazy.
here, Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
that-
It's awesome
yeah.
soundtrack.
Like, who the fuck would have thought that I liked any of these songs? Fucking, Son of a Preacher Man, like all these things
Sure.
that I, for the
Yeah.
most part, always ignored.
Yes.
Placement. It's like
yeah,
product
just the
placement.
Exactly.
amazing,
Yeah.
and I had that on cassette, Evan. Pulp Fiction. So
All
you
of
remember
his
I mean,
cassettes?
the soundtracks are usually pretty.
All of
pretty
his films,
solid.
I've at least
Ninja.
picked up something new that I never caught before. Or
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? I got to look back, find out what it was.
Yeah.
Hear other songs by every single one of his movies.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
definitely, and Pulp Fiction was like the first one. Obviously, Reservoir Dogs had its moments,
Mhm.
and
Little Green Bag.
Mr. Pink.
I mean, the Urge Overkill.
That
cover,
cover.
that was
Girl,
huge.
You'll Be-
such a fucking good cover.
once again,
really.
that movie, I watched it when
It
I
really just made the movie. I mean,
high
just all
on
those
heroin
songs.
in
Yeah,
Quorum.
I saw that at
Oh,
Comac
wow.
theaters.
I could see
Wow.
High on
Wow.
Heroin and Quorum
Yeah.
to that song.
I think I went to like a midnight showing and got out of there at like 3
Just
a.m.
saying.
It's a long
Definitely
one.
wasn't food shopping
How do you
Friday.
take the heroin? You shoot it?
I was shooting it, but in the beginning I was snorting it. So around 94, I was probably.
I've known you for so long.
I've been clean since
still,
98.
I mean, Sam is so like normal and so well spoken and thoughtful. The way I just can't picture that. I can't picture, like, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I've
And I've done so
the
much
90s,
like
man. The 90s
stuff,
were
and you just
wild.
like you just
You've
hang,
been friends
like,
with
you
me
hang
my
all
whole
this-
life. I'm the biggest asshole in the universe. So you think you know someone?
You think you know?
You ever shoot it in the wiener?
No, my dick's too small for that.
Nikki Six would do it in the wiener.
Who?
Yes.
Nikki Six.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is probably like a baby's arm.
It's like fucking
holding
giving
an
it to
apple.
Donna D'Erico.
Langan number 4.
He's no Jonah
no, I mean-
Falcon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was number 4. Yep.
Or Mike Malamo.
I got the Boogie Nights soundtrack.
Hell yeah.
I think they did another good job because it kind of, it's a film set in the
Oh yeah, definitely.
Goodfellas
Awesome soundtrack,
style
too,
where
yeah.
it shows the coming up,
Where it's a
the
high
glory
and then
days,
a
and then the
low.
and
Yeah.
the soundtrack carrying through that time period.
Sister Christian, like that scene with the firecrackers.
Yes.
Nothing
Yeah.
beats that.
You know
scene.
what?
That
I'm
was
still kind of
epic,
like I
the
regret my
build-up.
Moana pick, even though it was a pretty awesome soundtrack. You guys have some good
Alright.
picks, and
Stick with
I
it.
kind of just went with my first quick. I
You
didn't want
picked
to.
how you should
Moana.
Dude, fucking love it.
But I love
You're
welcome. The
Sorry.
funk songs on there too. The Machine Gun by the Commodores. They use God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, one of the best
That-
songs I think.
Yeah,
Buck
that
Super Stereo
was
World.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Got to Give It Up by Marvin
makes
Gaye.
you want a freaky
Move
date.
awesome.
your hips.
They had to release 2 of them. I think there was
Same thing with Dazed and
there was 2
Confused. It has-
soundtracks
Yep.
for that. Yeah, more
Yep.
songs from or
Dazed and
whatever. But
confused.
I
It's
love
in the
that
D
song.
section back there.
Yeah, man.
All right, that's a good
Alphabetized?
pick.
Oh yeah.
Hold
Yeah,
on a
that's
second.
fucking- That's very impressive.
What other Disney movies on your list, Alex?
The Lion King.
Can I take off Moana and add another one because I had a backup one? Let's go
Yes.
with Flash Gordon, number 3.
Yes.
Wow, good one.
Fucking
Fucking
yeah.
that was just, that kind of like really carried the movie. It was perfect. It went so well with the
Yeah.
movie. The Queen soundtrack. It was just amazing. Flash.
Yeah.
He saved every one of us.
Honestly,
I
Not
think
that
except for
everybody
that,
needs him.
I think except for that marijuana movie you mentioned, or marijuana, however you say it.
Moana.
I think I've owned all these, which is kind of
Marijuana.
exciting.
Yeah, I
Marijuana.
get that one.
By the way, did you read this flyer?
Yeah,
Even if you hate these bands, go down and donate something.
it was
You
a
see,
benefit.
That's good.
See, I think Alex made that flyer because it's
That's
so
good
nice.
shit.
I did
You know?
it.
Speaking,
so nice.
Yeah.
speaking of that,
Like
This
that
is worth
following
8
movie
Bitcoin.
life.
that's exactly how I feel. So my band is playing.
Yes,
with,
let's talk about this.
Jason Schneider's benefit show, December 3rd at AMH in Amityville Music Hall. So if you're listening and you want to come down, like, like that flyer that Evan read. Even if you don't like any of the bands, come down because
Will Malamo be there?
he actually will. His band's playing.
I need security and I'll show up.
So definitely.
Malama's gonna beat his ass.
Just bring Rubino and you'll be all right.
That's true.
Maybe bring a athletics.
They do have that Dearly Departed connection. He might not have Evan's back.
I might have my back.
But yeah, December 3rd, it's a benefit for Jason Schneider. And,
Who's on the bill?
Well, let's see. His band, Moon Cursor, is opening. Then the second band, I forgot. Who the fuck is the second band? Oh, it's Malamo's band, Dead of Winter. Maybe it's his new band,
AKA Boner Pants.
And then my band Playing Dead. Then Too Many Voices, and I believe Joe Rubino's band is playing last.
Really?
The Ice Cold Killers.
Oh, we gotta go.
So,
I'm
It's been too long.
gonna get hurt. Oh
Yeah.
man.
and
Then
you'll,
we'll have the Evan benefit for
You'll-
paying my
there you go.
hospital bills.
you'll be happy to know that the bathroom only holds one, so you will not be peeing next to Joe
Nice.
Rubino at any time. So, yeah.
It would be an honor, but at the same time, very intimidating.
Definitely.
I can't even get my hair cut there. I mean, I'm useless.
Yeah. That's true. Now you can get like a little shape up,
A little something.
little like lines on the beard and shit, So,
Sure.
but all right. So Parker, what's your number 3?
Number 3, I did Clerks.
Nice.
Probably my favorite Alice in Chains song, Got Me Wrong, is on there. You got Soul Asylum, Stabbing Westward. You got that fucking crazy Chewbacca song on there. What a Wookiee.
What a Wookiee.
What a Wookiee.
What was your
Clerks.
Clerks.
Oh, Clerks.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
You zoning that over there?
No.
Yeah, I actually, I've been up since like 5, and I've been working like until I got here.
Nice.
So.
We all
But
work.
I'm not complaining. I love life.
I think we.
I
all,
was in the city
I
all
think-
day.
Yeah. I work.
And I'm just like zoning
I worked
out.
by him. Woke up at 7. I actually drove
Hey.
to get you. So anyway, my number 3 is Judgment Night soundtrack.
Yes.
We talked about that.
And that was like when that came out, everybody was talking about it. Like everybody was saying,
Everybody
like,
had
"What's your
that shit.
favorite song? Like,
Yeah.
what's your?"
And then the movie came out and it was terrible.
Yeah,
No,
but the
love the movie.
soundtrack. I mean, that was like I remember everybody
Not enough
talking about it.
ninjas.
What was your favorite collabo? Like, what was that? Was like kind of
Yeah.
a cool idea.
And
Helmet House of Pain.
Cypress Hill.
I like the Sonic Youth one, but I was a huge
Onyx.
Yeah.
Yep. Biohazard.
Cypress Hill had 2 songs on there because they did one with Sonic Youth and then they did one with Pearl Jam.
Yeah, I haven't heard it in so
And
long.
Ice-T
but-
Slayer. I mean, come on.
Yes.
All that stuff is good, but nothing beats Fallen with Teenage Fan Club and De La Soul. Come on,
I gotta
that's the
really-
best.
Yeah, it's
That
been
opens
so
the
long
movie,
since
too.
I heard it. I
Alex
love
likes that
Bandwagon,
the
Bandwagon
Ozzy
S.
Osbourne Moana.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, I
Classic.
was all about that too when it came out. Let me ask you a question though. You listen to it now, still?
I listened
still-
to it today.
Still feeling it?
Listen to it today.
I'm
yeah.
still feeling
By choice.
some of it,
Some of it,
but
right?
definitely like when I hear like House of Pain is just terrible lyrics. They've
Yeah.
always been terrible.
No.
All I know is in that song,
Muggs made that.
Everlast
man.
is saying, "You make me sick like strawberry
Strawberry
quick.
quick.
Your style is whack. You ain't the Mac. So yo, step off."
I don't eat the pig because a pig is a cop.
Yep.
Yeah,
Very profound.
He was in the movie too.
he was in the movie, and so was Dennis Leary.
Lucy, I'm home.
DJ Muggs sound made that what it was. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just
Bad guy
happened.
from The Mask.
It
Was in
just
the film.
happened that Everlast was their guy.
Yeah, no, it was the Beats made that band.
Yeah.
So and Helmet, Helmet's awesome.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good stuff on there, sure.
Number 3.
3 for me is The River's Edge.
Nice.
Yes.
Um,
yes.
'Cause
Warm
I remember
even.
seeing it when
The
I
River
was
Runs
young.
Reg.
And hearing Slayer, Captor of Sin, Tormentor of Evil, Has No Boundaries, Die by the Sword in a movie was such a big fucking deal to me that my shit was getting represented in the movie. Because it didn't happen often, bands that heavy. You know, all the hair bands had their soundtrack moments and stuff like that. But not these
Not
bands,
Ninja.
you know?
Yo, that's a good number 3. But I'm laughing because on the way here, I was like, oh shit, I need to go grab a mic from the studio, and he's like, yeah, we can't be like the hair bands that share a mic, and then you said the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
We said we'd have to put like our backs
Yeah.
to each other.
I'm like, if
Because I was
do the
watching the
lean.
Halloween, they were doing this Eagle Fly Free,
Man,
like in Brazil
Halloween
or
got
Mexico.
the most mentions ever.
And
They're like the new Metallica.
first song, there's Kiski and there's Hanson, and they're just they like to like lip to lip at the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Too much.
Very
Yeah.
intimate. You know?
Yeah, like if Bobby Doll and Cece basically shared that mic so
Yeah.
hard,
How did that come about?
I don't know.
That
I
maybe
think that
early
dude,
on they
that dude,
saved
little
on mics?
Steven, I think started that
Is that
shit.
what it is?
He's all about sharing the mic.
Maybe it's like, maybe like you're playing, and you're like, do you need a mic? No, I don't need a mic.
You see-
I'll share
You see any
yours.
footage of Poison and Def Leppard did a concert at Coliseum? Maybe this summer or whatever. Psst, I think Cece's wearing a wig.
Is it?
It's
gotta
rough.
be.
I think
It is
they all
really
kind of-
long. It's like pin straight, and it's under like a fedora the whole time.
Well,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
that's how Brett's hair is. It's
Dude, a
like,
lot
But
of
his
those-
is that's been like that's like
I've mentioned on the show
No,
before.
urban, Bigfoot. That's a wig, right?
I read this book on the history of MTV,
yeah.
and even in the heyday, Great White, Don Dokken, they all had hair weaves.
Really?
Kevin DeBro, they were like losing
Oh,
it
wow.
then. That
Yeah,
shit
I
was
could see
all
Kevin
fake, yo.
Dubrow. With I mean, his
DeBro went
brother's a
bald.
plastic
You could
surgeon.
see him
I
going
mean.
bald right
Yeah,
away.
he was
But
a-
Don Dokken, that
Don
shit was
Dokken,
weaved
really?
up, man.
Wow,
Yeah,
Don.
DeBro
It's
was like
dry as hell, man.
Wow,
I wanna
Don.
I just want to go up to him and rub like conditioner on that shit.
Some
Come
motherfucking
on,
sell some
size of a
blue or
dime.
something.
Size of a dime.
Your brother
in
loved
hand,
Dokken.
yo.
Yes,
Get
Adam.
that
Adam
all shit
Amiruddin loved
fixed up,
Dokken.
you know?
That's right.
But
Dubrow was like the first with like a skullet. Like he was like
Yeah.
losing his hair, and he's like, I'm keeping it.
And
But-
one guard.
and then
too.
one day
I
he
love
just
that.
showed up with this like these
Yeah, he had like
curly-
dreadlocks kind
He
of.
looked like a little Dutch boy, like painted like a painting from the Renaissance age. He had these curls flowing down and shit, and I was like,
God.
wow.
And
how
Shaq-
did that
drinking his iced tea.
Shout
Yeah.
out, shout out to fucking Brett Michaels for being so fucking smart that he got VH1 to corral 30 groupies that he could fuck, and they'll pay for he was on TV with Rock of Love, and they basically just threw 30 women
Right.
in a house, let him bang all of them, paid
Right.
him a salary, and made pretend like he was.
And
Gonna,
at the same
That's
time, it
gangster.
put them back on the map. So
it did, and because at the end of every episode they would have his like solo songs. It wasn't even Poison songs; it was his solo songs.
which were terrible.
Fuck.
but when he
Oh my
wanted to
God,
get
how
him
bad
wet,
were they?
every rose has its thorn would come out. I mean,
Do
that
you
was
think it
that
was
was
like
that
a-
was that was the clincher
Like
right
such
there.
Do you think it was
fucking
fake
fool.
though? Wasn't he like married, or he was
Absolutely
like had
fake.
like a good?
Yeah, he's married.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Is
Like
he?
he had like a fiance
Yeah.
or like a
But
long-term
yo, he
girlfriend.
fucked all those girls.
he
I
definitely.
He might have
there's no
finger
way
banged
that-
a
You don't
few.
want to
I
not
don't know.
believe that he
It's all
did,
fucking-
right?
It's not like there's no way that shit happened without
Listen,
some nasty
and this-
shit going on.
What I love about VH1 is that they did 2 or 3.
Oh, it was VH1.
seasons.
It was on the softer of the two
Yeah.
channels.
That hot tub probably had like a film, like a
Ah,
half-inch
disgusting.
thick on top of it.
So
And if
gross.
he
of
didn't-
just fluid.
If he
compiling
didn't,
together.
the crew got
Doesn't
shrapnel
move.
pussy completely. Whoever's in his crew was like banging those girls.
You think he has a hair tech on tour?
Absolutely.
Oh, no question. I
So-
bet you he don't take that hat off.
His
when he
hair
gets
tech
down.
is better than the
shower.
than
Baby, I keep
the
my hat on.
the
My
hologram James
bandana
Diaz.
stays on. My
Requires more skill.
My socks and my bandana stay on. That's my shit.
That's his rule.
Yeah.
Every morning, his roadie staples the front and the back.
Oh my god.
But I think like the funny part about VH1 is they did 2 seasons of Rock of Love,
Mhm.
and then the third show they did was about him and his wife, and I'm thinking like.
I missed that one.
Fucking balls on you guys. You fucking just present him as this like bachelor like swinging through like 60 women. And then the next show is about him and his relationship with his wife. Like it's almost like a horror movie. They don't
Wow.
care about the first 2 movies. They're like, you know what? Completely different plot for number 3. So
I never saw that one. I saw the one with Sebastian.
I don't think
Bach and
anyone's
his
seen
then
it.
wife. That was pretty interesting.
When's the one where it's like he builds a house? You know,
I don't know. I think that's
It's
Vanilla
coming.
Ice.
Yeah.
number
that's a good
3?
show, by the way.
2.
Only 2.
Oh, 2.
You made it
Moving
around?
along. Yeah.
What was your number 3?
My
Cinderella.
number 3 was Flash Gordon.
Okay, number 2 then.
Flesh Gordon.
Flash.
That's a real movie, by the way.
Time Bandits.
Hell yeah. That movie rules.
Did you do that? Is that real?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's
That's yours?
No.
What?
Sorry, Time Bandits.
No,
Oh.
no.
Okay.
Flash Gordon number 3 was mine, but we're on 2
Number
now.
2.
2, I'm gonna have to go for Rushmore soundtrack.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I have a list, but it's not really in order, so I'm like picking the order.
Doesn't
now.
matter.
Rushmore is
It's
number
all right.
2.
Lists are.
He's panicking ever since that
You can kick it
Moana.
freestyle here, yo.
Yeah,
Right off the
I
dome,
mean,
man.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I
Didn't
like
you hear Evan already knock lists? So
This guy's
doesn't matter.
That was a great
This guy's
intro to
bringing me
this
down.
segment.
really pumped up the view.
I think
the,
Sam likes me
listenership.
less.
Wes Anderson
Yeah.
definitely had. I think his best movies were like the first few. I love Rushmore and I love The Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah, it's just
Tenenbaums.
like he has like a vision. You could tell like the aesthetically, and then with the
Yep.
soundtracks and everything. It's just,
Immediately
He's got a
Like, it's
identify.
style.
just so, and I'm so into it.
Yeah,
you know,
great
but
stuff.
it's just like it creates a mood. It creates like I don't know.
Jason Schwartzman too.
Yeah.
Well, I like those guys that use Quentin Tarantino does it too. Tim Burton.
Weren't you into that soundtrack?
They have that reoccurring group of characters that they
Rushmore?
like to
Didn't you like
rotate
that
and
soundtrack?
use.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool.
We listen to it a lot on tour.
Jason Schwartzman, Coconut Records, like great musician.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
love that he's on.
We used to
there.
listen to what's it called? His band
California.
Phantom Planet.
Right, right.
We used to listen
That
to him a lot in the
first
van.
Phantom Planet
Yeah.
record
That was
is
good.
fucking
And we'd be in
great.
California, like playing it, like on tour, like
That was a
it's-
really good
yeah.
And we would go to
I like the
In-N-Out
other
Burger.
stuff too, like the beat.
Who
the
didn't?
Brat. What was
Brat,
that
yeah.
song? When
The
that song
second
was
record
awesome.
was good.
And
too.
Bored to Death. I love that TV
Bored to
show.
Death was
a
a
lot of
great
people
show.
didn't watch it,
Yeah.
but I thought it was.
No, it was a good
We'll
show.
talk
good.
about that one day.
Yeah.
Number 2, Parker.
Without me.
Number 2, Purple Rain.
Nice.
Yes.
I love it.
Can't
Look at
fuck
you.
with that.
No.
Who?
Purple Rain.
Prince,
You ever
artist
hear of
formerly
Prince?
known as.
It was a joke.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Too soon.
The guy just died.
I was at a show, which I could talk about at the end if you want to go full
I
circle.
don't give a shit.
Wednesday, and there's a Prince tribute band.
Okay.
And the
Is
guy-
Apollonia going to be there? 'Cause that's all that I really
There's an
fucking
Apollonia tribute.
That's all
Is
that,
that
I
the
really fucking care about.
Culture Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Are you embarrassed?
No. I just
I'd be
we're off
proud.
topic.
I'd
I don't
fucking
want to
love
name
it.
it. Bring it back.
It's like I was at a show. I'm like, wait, you were just at a Culture Club show.
It was
I went to Culture Club.
You know, because Johnny North gave him shit for it. He's embarrassed. But
Louis
I'm all
Pullen.
for the Culture Club.
It was awesome.
What was the name of the Prince cover band? Because they always have to have a clever.
It was like the
parody on
Revolution
some
or
song.
something.
Doves
or-
Cry.
That's fucking
Yeah,
lame.
yeah.
they
That
call
that
it
would be
Doves
killer.
Cry.
I like
But
that.
they had a picture. They had a picture of him. The guy's got like the
My girlfriend
weird
wanted.
beard.
Karen wanted to go to the Culture Club show.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I'll tumble for you.
Little side note:
Nice.
doing some tax work for Culture Club, got free tickets.
Oh, you
Oh,
did
nice.
it, Greg. You did it.
Look at me.
Like a chip.
Nice.
But it was my wife's
Fucking-
birthday.
You're a big deal. Man.
She
You're a
she
big
grew
deal.
up on
You'd
Culture
like that
Club.
applause button.
She get the stats guy. We're turning this whole thing around.
She tumbled for you.
I'm waiting for the tumblings. I didn't get rewarded
Evan,
yet.
Evan had some
but-
good texts about like what
Yeah.
his motivation.
I'm anticipating a
behind taking his wife to
good payoff.
I like it.
Yeah,
I missed it.
sounds good. I mean,
They did 2 nights. You missed them both.
you missed
I
Public
did.
Image Limited though, you sucker. Can't believe you don't want to go to that. It was
Number
pretty
2,
awesome.
Parker.
Me?
Yeah.
I didn't want to go.
Number 2, Parker.
I did. Purple Rain.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
I'm up.
Way to steer the ship.
You zoning
know.
out, Sam?
Yeah, totally. All right, so my number 2 is man, these songs. This is a movie from 1986, and I could recite the lyrics to all these fucking songs because they're that good. And I think they were specifically written for the movie, and it's Little Shop of Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, definitely.
Those songs, like from like Skid Row to like Mean Green Mother from Outer Space,
Right,
like
right.
yo,
Mean Green Mother was written just for the movie.
yeah, well, I would
believe.
imagine. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all that stuff was great movie, great songs. To this day, like 31 years later, I still fucking love. So,
Yeah.
Little
Nice.
Shop of
Good
Horrors, motherfucker.
Way to go, Frank Oz.
Yes.
Stands the test.
Better with age.
2.
My number 2 was 24-Hour Party People.
Oh, that's a good one.
I love that movie. Anything Steve Coogan's in, I'm there. I think he's one of the best actors, comedic or drama,
I'm
right
not even
now.
sure who's it. Like, who's on the soundtrack? I'm not
Division,
sure.
right?
Joy Division, because it's all about that whole scene
okay.
in there, the
Oh,
hacienda
man, I
and
feel like I need to
whatnot.
see that.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it's fucking good. But
I feel like there's somebody watching me from in there.
That's all right.
Like that cutout in
It's
3
Vinny.
Men and a Baby, just like staring at me.
Nice.
they got Joy Division.
Taking notes.
It's coming
New
back,
Order.
Baken.
It's Malamo's boner.
Yeah.
It's pooping through.
You can back me up on the boner, right?
You
Come
know,
on.
There might have been a boner once or twice. I don't know.
Once or twice.
Mike have a boner again?
It was
Dude,
more
that-
like,
talk about somebody that really gets when he's performing. He's really like
oh, he gives it his all.
no, but seriously, like he just is in like
Boner heaven.
He's really like
We're a good team.
what?
That's why it works.
Yeah.
Good team.
No, but really, like he really like it's like when you
That's
see
so
him.
positive. He's turning a positive spin on the boner.
Boners are good. It means he's got a healthy fucking prostate.
Got a good prostate. Give it up for Mike's prostate.
Yeah, that-
Good prostate. Lamo.
Shout out to the sixth member of tonight, Mike Mama's fucking boner.
Boner.
Dude, I seriously would love it if he was here right now. That'd be awesome.
Well, next time, part 2.
Open the closet door.
There you go.
What's your number one? Number one soundtrack.
Oh, mine's
Little Mermaid.
Grease.
Alright,
Grease.
Good. Let's gloss over that one.
What the fuck? That's fucking.
Very mature.
How about Grease 2? I like Grease 2 too.
come to.
How about fucking Teen Witch?
No, those.
He's
are,
singing about
Teen
a
Witch,
singing
that was-
plant, but he's insulting.
Those are.
Grease.
No, those are great
Grease. Oh,
songs.
the Bee Gees and that fucking
Yeah.
soundtrack was phenomenal. I think it just kind of that movie is, would be nothing without that soundtrack.
pretty timeless.
I mean, it was kind of a musical movie, so obviously.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
But it's just
The
like
music-
that. I don't know. I just feel like it really.
Well, to
like,
this day, people fucking love those songs. Like Karen went to the Bolton Center in Bayshore because they did like a Grease night and everyone dressed up.
I like
and they
Bayshore.
sang those songs. Yeah, well, shout out to Michelle. She books all the shows over there at the Bolton Center.
Shut up, Michelle.
Bolton?
Yeah, like
B-O-L-T?
Michael Bolton. So, she does a lot of cool stuff there. I will be seeing Rhett Miller from the old 97s.
Nice.
there
I
next
saw
year.
Rhett Miller with Johnny North in some place in the city, like some
I saw him in a backyard in
intimate
Dix Hills.
show, like wherever. It was after our band accident. My knee was killing me the whole time.
I wanted to email him to see if he would do our show while he's here.
Did you
'cause
do
I
it?
love the old 97s.
Cool.
It's actually in
You know what?
February.
I'll take care of
All right, thank you. Speak to the manager, please.
it. Yeah.
I'll get you, I'll get you all the sour cream you want if you want. So, I'm sure you got that header and all that shit. So, okay, Grease number 1 for our guest.
Shout out to Grease too. I
Do
mean,
you, do you
Cool
have
Rider.
any soundtrack that sticks?
I'll
with
give
you
one
ever?
at the end.
Okay, one at the
I'm working on one, provided nobody takes it.
Parker number 1.
Number 1, Lost Boys.
Yes,
Oh.
yes,
Yeah.
that's good. Good.
You like
I like
that?
everybody's choice.
You like
And
that?
it's
You
one
like
movie
that
I
muscular
believe.
saxophone player?
Tim
I still
Capello,
believe,
man.
man.
Tim
Dude,
Capello.
He has a name?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
he was
I
Tina
am-
Turner's sax player.
Yeah,
That's
there
where
you
he
go.
made his
I think I put that
bones.
on one of your group chat threads. Shout out to the group chat.
There you
It's
go.
a lot of fun to read.
In Excess is on there. You got
Yeah, Red
Echo and
River
the Buddy
group chat.
Man doing a
You got
Doors
the Doors.
That's a good cover.
cover. Yeah.
That's a great cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually saw Echo and the Bunnymen this year, and they did that cover.
Oh, that's
People
cool.
Strange.
Lou Graham.
Yeah.
And then the Violent Femmes blew him off the stage.
Evan used to love the Violent Femmes.
I did.
Viva Wisconsin.
I mean, me too. I think they're great. But
We were
every
I was
time
having a
everyone's-
talk with my wife the other day, like if you how much you think it would take to get them to play like a birthday party.
Less than Gene Simmons.
30 grand?
10 grand.
10, you
I was-
think?
I was
10?
thinking 10
I was
too.
thinking
don't know, it just
30.
popped into my- Maybe.
Good. Well, you're
Maybe.
all invited.
So
Maybe like 10
Less
years
than
ago
Gene.
or 20 years ago. would've
tomorrow
been
I'll be waking up and we're doing like a cover set on the 25th, and I will be practicing "Held Her in Her Arms." Love that song.
nice.
Whatever happened to
Did
the
it.
Pixies tribute band that you were working on?
Oh well, we never did it because you fucking flaked.
I'm ready.
All right, good. So my number 1 is a movie that I saw when it was out of the theaters, and it blew my mind. It had the best songs that I've ever heard in a movie that were written for this movie, and it was a Broadway play, and it just I can't say enough about
Broadway?
Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Ah, yeah.
I haven't
was
seen
gonna
it.
The
say that one.
songs are like straight up like
Amazing.
Bowie.
Yeah.
Like it's just such a great soundtrack. Like it
My sister-in-law was an investor in the Broadway.
really?
What if it was off Broadway? The what with NPH?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Neil
yeah.
Patrick Harris?
Yeah.
Yeah. He
like
did.
him.
Through some weird turn of events or some friends, she put in some money and like
Cool.
got a return on investment. Look at that.
This guy's flossing on us.
I loathe musicals, but that movie.
You like the
fucking
movie?
Fantastic.
Yeah, a friend
Yeah.
of mine showed it to me.
Just
like,
from the music
yeah,
alone.
like years ago.
So
Normally
you
I
didn't
don't
like my
that
Grease
style.
choice? You weren't into that?
I mean, I
I'm kidding, I'm
get
kidding.
I
You're
get
right.
its place in
Speaking
history.
You're
of
not
boners,
into
It's
it.
one of the
That's
most
fine.
popular soundtracks in
It's
history.
really good. Yeah,
But-
but if you don't like musicals, that's fine.
I remember
mean,
my
that's-
parents had a
that's what it
vinyl
is.
copy of that. It's just not my
Grease?
cup
I
of
used
tea.
to
The
have
way
it. I had
everybody's
the
got to
record.
sing, like everything they got to fucking say. I can't
I had a
deal with
Olivia
it.
Newton-John, but there's
But
talking now.
Hedwig,
High school
Just
wasn't like
awesome.
that for
Yeah.
you.
So
it.
real quick. So the movie for most people that haven't seen it, which is a lot of people, 2001. This dude is in Germany, and he decides he wants to get a sex change and become a woman. They fuck it up. They leave him with an inch. That's why it's called Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Oh wow.
So therefore,
You notice how he didn't go into the plot of Grease? He's dissecting his own pick,
I think everyone.
poo-pooing yours.
I think everyone's
Fine.
seen Grease. I don't think enough.
What is
people-
Grease really about?
Whatever.
I want to eat grease when I leave here. That's all I know.
Yo, diner. Anybody after the show?
I'll do it. If
I
you
haven't
want.
done it a long. That's
Check.
that's
so-
part
so-
of the hang.
We'll do that.
Wait, am I invited?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. You're driving. Anyway, listen. So he gets
Free
his dick-
sour cream.
Nice.
Unless
off.
Brian has to go
Then-
home. Unless you need to go.
I always got to go home.
Well, I mean, eventually.
Well,
I'll send you guys home with some pizza.
All right, I'll shut
We're
the
not
fuck
going to
up.
go to the diner. Wink, wink.
He has a 1-inch penis.
Well,
When are you getting him on the show?
Number one.
Lost Highway.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, nice.
I actually like the soundtrack better than the film. I love Lynch, but it's just not a great movie for
It's
me.
not.
But the Bowie track in there, I'm Deranged. The Angelo Baldamenti, the instrumentals in it work perfectly. It's got 2 great Marilyn Manson songs on it, Apple of Sodom and his cover of the Screaming Jay Hawkins, I Put a Spell on You. And Lou Reed does a great song, This Magic Moment. It flows. It's almost like if there was no movie made, it works. It flows like a concept album almost to me. It's got a mood. It's got an atmosphere to it. And I think it works on its own without even being a soundtrack. So Lost Highway,
It is a rough watch, but the soundtrack's awesome.
fucking great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So, anyway, that's our top 5.
You want
It's
my
our,
pick?
our first show. Yeah, it's our first show in a month.
No, you don't. You want it?
So I'll shut the fuck up. You pick your.
I'll give you my one.
Yeah.
This is probably why I don't like lists, because I couldn't even probably come up with 5.
Yeah.
But there's one, and I always talk about it whenever I'm asked. It's
Muppets
the Shocker soundtrack.
Yes.
Nice.
He's
So
got the poster over there.
you know what?
Oh, it's on
That was like one of the first times that I can remember where a soundtrack was almost marketed before the movie or simultaneously, or that there was like a separate component.
It was more interesting, probably.
Had the Dudes of Wrath, right? Who was in that? Paul Stanley, Tommy Lee, Desmond Child. You know,
Desmond
some
Child.
of the heavy hitters of the
Yeah.
of the time.
Desmond
so
Child was like the Butch Walker of back then.
That's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
they propped up Dave Mustaine to do that.
No more
yeah,
Mr. Nice
no,
Guy.
Mr. Nice Guy.
He was like the
They
most
did.
doped out in his life right there.
And you know what? When the movie came out, it delivered.
Yeah.
Fucking good.
Yeah.
And Peter Berg was in it, who became
Big time director now.
Big
huge
director.
director.
Ballers.
Yeah. Hey, he's done everything, like a bunch of shit. So
I got to say shout out
Wes
to
Craven.
that nobody said
Shout out to Wes
singles,
Craven.
'cause I
Yeah.
didn't pick singles because I
Malamo
thought somebody
picked
would say it.
singles.
everyone picks.
That's fantastic, so I left it out.
Yeah,
also,
State of Love and Trust. That song.
shout out to
cool.
Juice.
Nice.
I
was
had
great.
Juice. Yeah.
Everybody had Juice.
I just had one
And
backup.
Repo
Top
Man
7?
and
I
Trick or
had
Treat.
one backup, and that was Black Roses.
Okay.
Because that's all
I
that
thought,
matters.
yeah, I thought you
So
were going
Black
to come
Roses
up
up
with
there.
Pump up
That's
the
right.
volume. Anybody?
Oh, that's
Yes.
a good one,
That's
man.
good.
I have a couple of honorable mentions. Spawn soundtrack was just
Oh,
basically
yeah.
what Judgment Night was.
But with electronic artists, with
Exactly.
Slayer and
Mind the
Atari
equipment.
Teenage
Yeah, it was
Riot.
like Crystal Method and
Yeah,
like,
everyone that was Prodigy and somebody else. It was all, yeah.
And a movie. Well, you mentioned Juice and Boogie Nights, so I don't have to. And this movie would have been in my top 5 if it didn't come out this year, and it's also my favorite movie of the year, called Baby Driver.
I still gotta watch
That
that.
was fucking awesome.
Baby Driver.
Oh yeah, I heard of that.
Mind-
that's
I
good.
got it up
Yeah.
there. I still
Great.
gotta watch it.
Yeah,
Movie.
it's an Edgar Wright movie, you know, who did Shaun of the Dead and all that other shit, Scott Pilgrim. Man, this movie is an endless,
Oh, I like both of those.
amazing fucking movie.
Yeah, it's really good.
So, like,
really
the
good.
soundtrack is... The soundtrack is a main character.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay. Well, anyway,
Shout out to Cool World, too. Sorry.
Nice.
I want to shout out, like, if you want anything as far as, like...
Less Evan, more Evan.
T-shirts or anything to do, we're going to start mentioning Inked Up merch, which our friend Dan Tur does. It's something that you should check out. I bought a couple of... I have the Gore shirt, which I like, and then also
Yes.
the ODB,
ODB,
the
yeah.
Norman Bates shirt. He's got a lot of cool stuff. So just Google Inked Up merch, or just go to inkedupmerch.com and check them out and buy a bunch of shit. And what else? Anything else?
The two people that I told to listen to that wanted Movielife scoop, they're gonna be bummed out.
Yeah, they're gonna be very bummed out. Well, but I think we got a good.
We got the beginning. You set the tone. Next one will be all negative.
I just want to say,
Totally.
guys, Metallica.
Yeah,
There it is.
It's
Thank
done.
you for
We
getting
did
that
it.
in.
Let me
There it
ask you a
is.
question.
And
since-
also your other show mentioned.
oh
the
yeah,
other
I
show you
started
started.
a podcast with George Reynolds. Believe me, we don't need the help. That episode's through the roof.
Hey,
Shout out to George Reynolds, best guy.
Yeah, so our first episode, the show's called If I Ruled the World, and our first episode is with Daryl from Glassjaw. And it's up right now on SoundCloud, and eventually we'll get it on iTunes and all
Sweet.
that shit.
You're cheating on these guys. You're doing a podcast behind their back.
catching shrapnel.
Yeah,
It all
that's it.
flows.
It all flows. And I guess that's it. We'll do a part 2 because I feel like there's so much shit, and it's fucking... I feel like, like the episode is pretty fucking long. I'll edit it down to like 2 hours probably. And that's it, man. Go to iTunes, go to SoundCloud, all that other shit.
We'll
Tell
talk
people
about our
about
love
it.
of show tunes
All
later.
right. Yeah,
So-
thanks a lot, man. It was really fun.
Yeah, thanks for
Definitely.
I'm a
coming.
huge fan of the show too, and I'm happy to be friends with you guys.
All right, so
Thank
as soon as we
What a
get
nice guy.
as soon as we get Evan,
Much nicer than me.
we're gonna get Evan a new data
He's
plan.
rolling
and
hard.
yeah.
He's got that
Yeah.
Molly. The Molly's dissolving.
All right, we're going to the diner later.